Hello, everyone. We are back with another version of the Slot One Super Podcast, episode 33. Kind of cool number. And there's a lot to talk about today in terms of EZAs that we've gotten. So, very exciting. Of course, I have my two hosts here with me, the Ningen and Dokkan Assets. Say hello.
What's up?
Yo, how's it going, everyone? Happy to be here again on a Friday evening. Well, it's evening for me,
sir.
but you know.
Yep. Exactly, dude. I just love talking about Dokkan. Love being here with the boys. You know, we're just kind of chilling.
The boys, let's go.
The boys, yeah. So
My Spider-Man villain meme.
I love that meme, dude. It's so good.
It's a great meme. It's a great meme for sure. But all right, there are a couple of topics to talk about here, so we'll just go ahead and hop right into the thing. But just a quick reminder before we start, if you guys want to help support the podcast, or if you have any questions, comments, or shout outs, we're going to be reading out all donations and super chats at the end of the show. And we greatly appreciate you guys helping to support the podcast if you choose to do so.
Right.
Now, we're going to be talking about Global Dokkan. You know, Global Dokkan, the best version.
My best.
Right? Global best, yes. So we have the new 50% supports who have EZA'd into 60% supports. And there is a new banner format for those characters. Ningen, I saw you put a summon video up today, so let us know, how do you like the new banner format, how it works, and what did your summons get you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Obviously, these guys have been around before, and it's always been... The type banners always came out at like really awkward times. I seem to remember, because they've been few and far between that these banners have actually come back to the game. And I swear they would always come at the most awkward time, like right before an anniversary or like worldwide or something like that, right? When you don't want to spend stones. And funnily enough, it's
when you always want to save stones.
Don't want to spend stones. But yeah, funnily enough, it's happened again because we're kind of in that build up to the anniversry.
World Tournament. Golden Week, rather. Sorry, I'm thinking of the theme from last year's Golden Week.
No, Theo, I don't lie. You're just excited that Global's getting another World Tournament next week.
I'm hyped beyond belief, bro. So... I ain't gonna hold you.
But yeah, so the banner is very interesting. In the past, like I say, it's always been a kind of an awkward time, and you're always taking a risk, right? Drop 50 stones, you might not get anything decent. I had all of the units, but only at like 55% for the most part. I think I only had dupes for Hit and Kaba. But obviously these banners dropping now, discounted 2 multis, 30 stones each, and you're guaranteed to get one of the support units. So they certainly have been, yeah, very, very good. I've seen a lot of people, I didn't get any crazy like over the top luck. I think we talked about it last week before they were coming out, but I saw screenshots on JP of people getting like 3 hits in one multi and stuff like that, and I didn't get anything crazy like that. Funnily enough, it was only the Int banner. The 2 multis on the Int banner, I got double pulls. I got 2 Vegetas in the first one, and then I got Vegeta and Gohan in the second one. All the other ones I just got the guaranteed one, but I decided to do all of them in the end. I wasn't sure if I was gonna, but I did all of them in the end because the discount and then the guaranteed pull was quite worth it. I pulled...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's worth a try. Although, obviously, RNG beat RNG. I've already seen a couple of comments from people that, like, they really wanted to get Kaba, so they did the 2 multis and just pulled 2 copies of Hit, which, unfortunately, you know, that can happen. But I did pull, by doing those 2 discounted multis on each of the 5 banners, I pulled all of the units except for Rildo. I got Pan in both of the AGL ones. So, it means
now,
all of those
hold on,
units...
my friend.
Okay.
Surely a man of your stature, a cultured individual as yourself, would have blue coins to spare, considering you summoned on the heroes, man.
Well, I did have enough coins to get 2 of them.
W.
So I did get 2 extra ones as well. So basically, after all the summons were said and done, Rildo is still 55% because I think he's one of the lesser important ones. But they've basically got them all at either 2 or 3 dupes, apart from Rildo, Super Buu, and Gohan. I did get 1 copy of Super Buu and Gohan, the 2 physical ones, so they're both at 69%. But I mean, Super Buu maybe has a bit of like future potential with the Buhan EZA, but that Z-Sword Gohan is probably the worst one, him and TN. So I wasn't too fussed about getting extra copies of him. But in terms of the important ones, we've got Kaba at 90%, Int Gohan and Pan are both at 79%. So pretty decent overall. I've already tried them out in some interesting setups because I did do videos for them back when they came out on JP, but so this time around for Global, I wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit and do some different team builds for those videos. And I've got one recorded that will come out tomorrow, but a really fun build for the new Saiyan Day Vegeta, his Super Saiyan like 200% team. With Kaba, and then obviously combining all the big hitters that we have on Global, like the Super Vegeta EZA, Kefla EZA, and then I think I put like Future Gohan on there as well. So we've got like 3 really good Super STR units, and then Kaba gets the 200% leader skill from Vegeta as well. And I think there's a turn, it's not even the turn where he gets his full orb field change. I think he just got a decent change like from his passive, so I think I got like 10 orbs. And it's turn 9, so it's obviously like the final turn where he gets his stack. I think I did the Omega event, but he gets Kaba has like 2.5 million defense or something, and it's not on it's not on the turn where he changed the entire orb field. So it's not one of those like, you know, turns you see in a showcase, but it's like, well, you won't see that like every run or whatever. But yeah, this was just in a natural turn from his own orb changing. And then, yeah, he got the 200% thing. Yeah, Kefla isn't on Vegeta's 200%, but she's just on the team. And with the support from Kaba, she obviously still goes crazy. I think Super Vegeta on his active skill turn did a 41 million attack stat, which is ridiculous. Yeah, he got hit first by the Omega AoE and did his active skill. So he has like 41 million guaranteed crit. Absolutely ridiculous. So... yeah, they're very good. If you're on Global, I would say the STR one is worth summoning for. Other than that, it kind of depends on your box and like the other units you'll use. Because like we'd say Gohan's good because he has the same super attack effect. But Super Int is obviously nowhere near as crazy as Super STR.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What about you guys? Because I don't know, Theo, do you even have any? Do you have them on JP? Because they never came back after this, did they?
Nope. No, so I don't who has dupes for me. So I do have them all. I didn't actually use any stones on the banners when they came out on JP because I did the funny Dragon Ball Heroes thing. And I actually ended up saving blue coins like from literally like whenever the type banners came out last time on JP until they came out, you know, the last time that they just came out, like basically the version of these that Global just got. In between those 2 times, all of the blue coins that I got, I didn't spend a single one. I mean, granted, you can only use them on Kais anyway, so like, you know, it's not that crazy. And I already have a ton of Kais, so I think I have like 300 or something. I know you have me long beat on that, but regardless, right? Still enough that it's like I'm never even going to use them all. So I just save them for like quite literally. The easiest way to explain it is that my copium paid off. My like coping that the banners would eventually come back and I would be able to get those units with the blue coins literally ended up working out for me in the end because, you know, waiting that long, I got the only 2 that I was missing, which funny enough, I think at the end of the day, it was 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure I know I was missing both of the STR units, but I also might have been missing one of the Fizz units. But either way, though, yeah, no, I have them all now. Only a couple of them just have miscellaneous dupes. From, you know, just like summoning on those banners throughout the years. But yeah, no, they're good. Obviously some of them are better than others. Right? And some of them it definitely depends on, you know, obviously teams and what the character is and obviously the kit too. But I'm glad that they made them good at least. I still think just like we talked about. And before I say that, obviously the whole thing with the you know, the banner format is really, really good, right? Where obviously it's the discounted summon for the first 2, and then you get basically a 50-50. You're basically doing like we were just talking about Star Rail before this stream started. You're basically doing a 50-50 to see whether you're going to get which of the support units you're going to end up getting. But yeah, the banner format's really cool. I'm glad that they guaranteed that. I do hope and this was the thing I was going to say next, bring those banners back, right? I hope that they decide to do it where it's the same type of gimmick for the summon, because since these banners are so rare, having something like that on the banner is almost like necessary for those banners to exist, because if you did not have the ability to get those units so easy from that, 50-50 shot, basically, you would be very much so screwed. You would probably, obviously, like, not as many people would be actually pulling the unit.
Right.
Obviously, some people would, but
I've already seen some horror stories on Twitter of people who decided to summon past the 2 guaranteed steps.
Oh man, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted
it.
dupes for them, but like if they didn't have those guaranteed steps, because we are, right before Golden Week and then right before the anniversary, if they didn't have those steps, I probably wouldn't have summoned on the banners.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's the same with it being pre-anniversary. Like, no one would have summoned if they didn't have those discounts, right?
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I know a lot of people summoned on that on JP too.
I think I would say no matter what, if you're on global and if you're on GP, summon on the STR banner. I promise you, summon on the STR banner. 60 stones, 2 guaranteed, either Kaba or hit, and then those are the best 50% supports for sure. There are missions during the anniversary which want you to run a full Rainbow Extreme class team, right?
Oh, that would be helpful.
Like all types of Extreme class. So the best team for that is going to be Broly's team or Fusions of Moss's team. And the thing is, if you look at Extreme STR sucks. Extreme STR has no options besides.
What? No, surely not.
Pretty much like that STR hit. Like, I don't know who else you're gonna run, really.
He is the Extreme STR unit.
He is like the good Extreme STR.
Hello? Dark King Fu? Come on.
He's not on Broly's team, though.
No, he's on
if you're running Fusions of Moss's team, then sure. Right? But like,
and obviously, too,
team, then that hit would be very important.
Yeah.
The other thing I think why the SDR banner is so good, besides obviously them, is of course because you can pull LRs off of these banners. Obviously, that's good.
Yeah.
But of course, that means that I know LR Velma from Scooby Doo, LR Bulma, right, from obviously a couple years ago now, right? Obviously, she was still like on top then, and now she's like, not as much so like the Queen of Dokkan anymore, but obviously she's still cracked beyond belief. So obviously, if you end up getting her from,
you can get her on featured,
that's good. Right? Not to mention UI Goku now, right? Obviously,
because he's going to easy A.
Keep in mind though, it is 7% featured. So you shouldn't expect to get them, but you can get them.
Right, you can.
But likely, if you get an SSR, it is going to be the featured character. So that's why,
which is good.
That's right. Yeah, that's why you've seen a lot of people who got, like Ningen said, 3 hits in a multi or 3 cab in a multi, because it's that 7% featured rates, right?
Right.
So you're going to be more likely to get one of those featured characters. And I saw a lot of people looking at the banner and be like, "Oh, why would I summon on these banners? The featured characters suck." And it's like, well, yeah, the featured characters aren't good, but I'm only recommending the first 2 multis that are discounted and guarantee you the 50% support.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like, don't go farther than that.
They're 60% now. Keep that in mind. They're 60% supports now. I see Ningen 50% of the title like a fraud, but it's 60%.
Well, the funny thing is, I said that in my own video. It's just like the fact that that's what we've always called them. That's what people like know them in the community as, because they give 50% to their specific typing, but then they also give the extra 10% as well. So technically, it is 60%, but still,
well, I think technically. You're wrong.
Not to mention, also with that logic, we would not be calling the 120 leads that anymore. We would be calling them like the 130 leads or whatever it is that they get from these boosts.
I guess.
So that's definitely the
name is outdated, but that's what they're called. So
we calling them their actual name. Regardless, though, the STR vanilla rest of it is kind of stinky. I looked it up just because I was curious to remember, and shout out to Dondre Frost, Angel Golden Frieza, the newer one. That stinky Gohan that came out with Tech Trunks.
Yeah.
And
at least, like
the fake Ribrian squad.
The Mai and the Universe 2, like they're like
they're not bad.
And they're like okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
For us,
to
it's okay.
be for the most
true.
part, the other featured units on all of the banners are pretty bad.
Yeah.
The only one that has any potential is obviously like the AGL banner has that AGL Gotenks, who we now know, of course, gets an EZA on JP, which we'll be talking about a bit later. So, but in terms of global, as of right now, all of the other featured units are kind of mid, unless they're going to get an EZA.
I don't know, like Tech Vegeta's on the Tech banner, and Yajirobe is too. They're pretty good.
I mean, they're decent.
Yeah,
Chila is on the Imp banner.
Chila, actually, to be fair, is okay. But each one has like one unit that could be all right in some circumstances now. But of course, the other thing for global to think about is all the content that comes up with the anniversary. So some of those characters are just hanging on by a thread now. When that anniversary content comes out, you won't be like, I love that Tech Vegeta from the Battle of Gods movie, but like he is not great in the most difficult content anymore, unfortunately. But
so
which is a shame.
In terms of recommendations for summons, I would say personally STR is a must summon. Then you could also consider the AGL and Int ones.
Yeah,
I would skip the physical and tech ones if I'm saving for the anniversary, and like in the lens of a free to play player, because at that point if you summon on the AGL, Int, and STR banners, that's about 180 stones, right? If you do all the discounts on all three of them, so. That'll go from 180 to 300, and then that is basically like a rotation on the like dual Dokkan Fest banners, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And the thing about the three banners that I named, I think both the Extreme and STR side have like viability because of their super attack effects or their link sets or the teams that they're able to be on. With the Tech banner, you have Tech Tien, but his team is the Super Trunks team, and he has a terrible super attack effect. The Tech Cell actually could work pretty nicely.
Tech Cell's good for Zamasu's team, and also with the new Vegeta being Extreme Tech as well for Android Cell. Is on Android Cell Saga.
There's a thing there, but it's just like kind of weird with the Tien specifically. The Cell is fine. I think I like the Cell. He has a good super attack effect.
Yeah, but he greatly raises defense. So.
Yep,
it's not bad. And but the reason I think the reason why TN is probably the worst is like him and Z Sword Gohan, I would say, are the two worst. But the problem with TN is when you think about like other teams as well, like because he's a TN, like his teams and his categories are just not particularly great. His links are not great. Whereas at least the Z Sword Gohan, like he suffers from that same problem that some of the Ultimate Gohans have, where his link set is a little bit dodgy, but at least he's a hybrid Saiyan, he's a Gohan, so he's on Goku family, like he fits into some other better team builds. But like him and TN are probably the worst too.
It's really because they don't raise their defense. Like every other character besides Vegeta has a defense raise. And the thing, even with the Int Vegeta, is that he has
big bad bosses at least as well.
Big bad bosses too. Shoot, big bad bosses essentially that 25% multiplicative defense is like a replacement for him raising defense on super, in a sense, right? Because it's also multiplicative. So he still helped out there, and then he has like brutal beatdown, these really good villain links. There's a lot of good extreme in characters for some reason. You have Hirudegarn, Ma Junior. On global, you could use Amon and Raisin pretty well, right? So there's like this like villains kind of setup you could use with this Vegeta, like a Terrifying Conqueror setup with double Mod Junior and then Amon and Raisin, and this Vegeta will be giving 50% to that Mod Junior. Especially on global, that's really good. JP, not really gonna be that cooking anymore. So that's why I'm like the in banners. And the thing about the AGL banner as well is you have Rildo. Rildo is like GT bosses only, but at least he has a spot there.
Yeah, and he buffs Omega, so
and same thing with Boo. Boo is like super hyper focused for like the Boo tanks, right? But again, Majin Power isn't even that great of a spot right now, and having to run 3 physical characters.
What do you mean? Once we get the new LR Boo tanks for part 2,
so I'm thinking like LR Kid Boo, and then there's the physical like Kid Boo. It's super easy eventually, like maybe it can be decent. But I don't know. The really one I would only recommend really put your stones in is STR 1. I'd say the others are fairly skippable at the end of the day. But they're still like at the end of the day, none of them are like terrible investments just because of you have guaranteed characters.
Right.
Of the ones you're summoning for, they're guaranteed essentially.
Yeah.
and that's value that you barely ever see, ever.
Yeah,
Like the
which
only
it,
other,
like it's kind of wild for Dokkan, honestly, just because it's like, it's funny. We were like unintentionally talking about this right before the stream, where we were like, "Oh yeah, it's guaranteed." You're going for the guarantee. This is like literally one of the only times, besides like those stinky category banners, that they have like a guarantee for characters. So I would definitely take advantage of it, especially considering how rare they were. I actually had a question for the two of you that I think we've kind of talked about on the podcast, but before I asked that, it's about the type sports. I do want to say too, one other thing that I found use for them. I don't know, you can tell me if this is like strange, but I swear I've used them for a lot of events where it's either like basically like Extreme Z area type of things where you need specific characters for the event. I don't know if it just happens to be because the game likes to include them in there for some reason because they're support units, and then they work well, or if it's just because obviously for like a category where there's some like they don't let you bring the high tier options in the category, right? They let you bring those guys, but since they have the EZA now, they're like cracked for a lot of those type of events where it's like limited pool of characters to choose from, and then you have to bring like one specific character. I swear I find myself bringing those type supports all the time. I don't know why. I don't know if it just happened to be the events that I was playing at the time, but like I feel like they're on a lot of those events. So honestly, that's like not even a terrible option just to be able to do those faster. But either way, though, the question I wanted to ask you guys, because I'm sure that we obviously talked about this when it came out on JP, but how do you guys think that they're actually going to like return these, or when are they going to return these? Right? Because I know we talked about it in the past, like we are like, oh, well, they add them to the unfeatured pool. Now we know that's not going to happen, right? We know that they obviously have this guarantee thing, but since they basically like now come back on JP and global, right? And obviously the sync is going to happen, so I assume they'll probably be on both versions at the same time whenever they come around next. When do you think that we're going to see them again?
I think that they'll bring them back right before anniversary and right before worldwide is my guess.
Like permanently?
No, that's when they bring them back. Well, yeah, I guess permanently in terms of that cycle.
Yeah.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
That's my idea. It seems like they still want to be, I want to say stingy, but they still want to make sure these guys are like bait. Whereas like their value in
bro, which is it's so funny because they're gonna be outdated by the next time they're bait, won't they?
What they should have done is they should have made their guard guaranteed. Like just guard when there's the two other allies. I think it's the only thing I would change about them now post anniversary, because the content is so much like longer. Tougher, I think now it's not like 3-4 turns like it was pre-anniversary. That it's now like it's 7-8 turns, I think, 6, 7, 8 turns. And then some events like Gogeta could last like 10 turns even. So because of that, they should have had their guard just like permanent. And then even like Tech TN and stuff like that, they'd be a lot more better. But like those characters like Kappa and stuff get a little more dangerous, especially at lower dupe levels in like those hardest content stages.
Yeah.
But they can still be really good on like Beast Gohan's team. Like the Esther Kaba could be ran on Beast Gohan's team and gives him 60% support. But then people would rather do like 6 single summons, basically. That's also, oh wait, I almost hit my mic. Someone in chat said it, I think it was Annie, where it's like, instead of using 30 stones on this banner and getting Kaba and having a 60% support for my Beast Gohan, I'm just gonna throw those stones at his banner. It's like, well,
it's not guaranteed.
Right? And I feel like at the end of the day, 60 stones is not like
the only problem is, of course, like we said, is even though it is guaranteed, like I say, I had people in the chat earlier when I was doing my summons. Pulled hit both times, and then it's like, well, then after that, nothing is guaranteed. So if you're dropping 50 stones, you could potentially get nothing.
Even then, hit.
I guess it depends on what you have in your box, right?
Hit will be super useful. But it would suck not to get Kaba. But that's why I said that star matter, because even hit, people are it's like got hit. I'm like, dang, my side got hit, and then they're going to be an anniversary doing those missions and be like, wow, Hit is the best character for this mission. Thank goodness I have Hit. And then
yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I think the guard should have just been guaranteed for the rest of the battle. But that's my thing, just retroactively speaking.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can see.
What do you think?
I can see them doing that. Yeah, if they're gonna keep that kind of format, and then just have them come back like twice a year or something. But you do make a good point, of course, Theo. The fact that if they were to come back again, I guess we'd be we're going to sync by the worldwide. So I guess maybe the next time they would come back is before the next anniversary potentially. At that point, yeah, they'll probably, depending on what the level of power creep is for that anniversary events, like they will be outdated at that point. Because even now, right? So like we're talking about some of their heights that they can get to, but when we talk about some of the hardest events in the game from the anniversary, I don't know what the exact number is. Someone mentioned it in chat before, and I didn't like fact check it, but STR Blue Gogeta from the final stage, well, it's like the second to last one, isn't it, from the blue zone? A lot of people consider him to be one of the hardest bosses. His like post super normals are doing like over 1.5 million damage. So even if you're one of these units, if you're not Kaba or Gohan and you're not stacking up to like well over 1 million, then they'll get taken out by like normal attacks from the toughest content from the anniversary, which is kind of crazy. You know, it's one of those things with support units. They've kind of always been like that, right? Where it's like support units are on the team to buff everybody else, and you're just kind of crossing your fingers that they're not the one that takes a super or gets, you know, there's not like 5 attacks in slot 3 or something. So it's one of those things that's just like a trade-off, right? Because getting the 60% support is pretty crazy for some of these bigger units. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, because they kind of lose a bit of their value, I guess, in terms of people going after them like crazy if they make them available all the time. Because I feel like situations like this, people are really like, they're bait banners in the best possible sense of the word, in the sense that people, you know, you see that's like 230 stone multis, you're guaranteed to get one of them. Like if you were ever gonna try and get them, this is the perfect opportunity to do so. But of course, the problem is, as always, that it's right before the anniversary, and well, it's right before Golden Week, which we still don't know what that is. And then the anniversary as well for global. So it's tough, especially if you don't have a lot of stones, especially if you're free to play. But yeah, if you can spare the 60 stones, then I would say the STR one is good to go for. Because the thing about Hit as well, you say about how useful he is for those missions for the anniversary, but it's also interesting that one of the things about these units, I kind of wanted to make a point about Hit specifically, and it will work for some of the other ones too, is people, they support those specific typings with the massive buff, but it's not like you have to build a team that is like, oh, okay, well, I'm using Hit, so I have to use them on a team that's like, you know, almost full extreme STR. I have my
his guard only needs
only needs the actual STR allies. So I have my Hit video is going to drop after the podcast. And rather than show him off with extreme allies like I tried to do when he came out in JP, and that team is terrible because you're using him on like target Goku with the STR 17s and stuff like that. I just used him on Kale's team with Kaba and then Kefla and Kale with their EZAs. So he's got the STR partners that he needs to get his guard. And then he works really well on that team because that team needed those last couple of pieces to be better with like the global exclusive EZAs, and now we've got the EZAs for both Kaba and Hit. So that's probably one of his best teams at the moment on global, and he's the only extreme unit on the team. So you definitely don't need to build them around like, you know, he's extreme STR, so he's got to be on an extreme STR team. There are other ways to utilize them as well, which I think is quite cool. Same with Pan, right? The fact that because Pan has that buff with her super attack, you can run her on a team where you have like, you know, you can have an AGL ally for her on the rotation that she's going to be on. Obviously you need to have AGL allies on the team in general, but you could have the other rotation be like LR full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku and the GT duo, and they're getting that buff from her super attack effect from the previous turn, and they're not even AGL units. So you definitely don't have to get sort of stuck in the mindset that you've got to use them on these sort of like monotyping kind of teams, because they can still be really good even in these other setups as well. And the monotyping thing is cool because obviously when it comes to, I know that mode is not exactly the apex of Dokkan content, but when it comes to Battlefield and running the mono teams, these guys having the EZAs and having slightly better leader skills now as well is really good for making those Battlefield teams. So
True.
Yeah, definitely very good. So one thing I will say, I hate, because it just happened to me, I only just finished getting the medals for the tech ones, because having to do 5 Extreme Z areas with the fact you got to run both the stages like 5 times each. I had the thing happen where both the final run for the first set of medals and the final run for the second set of medals was the one where I got the question mark tile on the map. So I got extra medals that I don't need because it was the last run anyway. It would have been nice to get those.
That is unfortunate.
A couple of runs.
That's always
before.
the shaft, bro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always the shaft.
But yeah, they're all looking pretty interesting. Some of them, of course, will age better than others. Some of them will still be good for the anniversary content. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But for those of you out there who attempted to go for the discounts, like we said already, STR good, Int can be decent, AGL. But yeah, I would probably skip tech and physical, which is a shame because Cell definitely can be good. I did see someone in the chat saying that Cell is potentially being underrated, but it's unfortunate the fact you could summon to try and get Cell and then get 2 copies of TN.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where it comes to the risk, and when we're considering saving for anniversary as well, which is super important. That's why I'm not being like, oh, go for all these characters. You want to go for the banner that has the most value.
Yep.
And that's really the STR banner. And then next is the AGL and Int, because value is much more important than how good. Even if Texel was the best one by far, and then Kaba was the second best, and then STR Hit is like the 4th best, I would recommend the STR banner because TN would be the worst, and you get the least value from that, if that makes sense, right? Even if Texel would be the best one.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But yeah. Texel can still cook, right? You know, they all have like they all work functionally the same, and they all could be good, especially in the global meta right now. They can all cook, but
yeah, I see some people in the chat complaining about the Extreme Z area. Something that we talked about on my stream earlier today is it would have been so much better if it was a 30-stage EZA, as much as we don't like 30-stage EZAs. But if they did a 30-stage EZA where you got all the medals for all 10 of them, not only is it probably is less of a hassle than doing 5 separate Extreme Z areas, but then it doesn't cost you stamina. They could have given out Kais as some of the rewards like they do now. Often when they do those multi-batch ones, you don't get enough Kais to max out all of them, but at least you get some, whereas with the Extreme Z areas you don't get any. And of course what would have been nice as well is if it was a 30-stage EZA, you would have got 30 stones out of doing it. So if you wanted to do one of the discount multis, you'd essentially be getting those stones from doing the EZA, whereas it's what, 5 stages with 2 things. I think you get like, if you've done all the missions and obviously the stone for beating the stage for the first time, I think you get like 15, but you also have to spend a ton of stamina. So you use a couple of those, refreshing your stamina if you're trying to get them all done like in one day. But all that, which
that's the thing where you don't have to do them all one day unless you're like
exactly
right.
Yeah, for us it's more important, but yeah, you definitely don't need to awaken them all like today, right? So
like losing 15 stones in total does suck, right? I would say that. I don't see why it had to be a Extreme Z area, but at least you still get half the rewards based on how they structured it, which not ideal. But I think getting 15 stones is still better than getting 0 stones, right? Because they could have made the middles available through missions where you get no stones, right? Like they do with they did with the free to play Android 21 that one time or something like that, right? Where because it's available through missions, you don't even get stones. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's like we would have definitely preferred an Extreme Z.
Absolutely.
Extreme Z battle, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like lately they've been doing that a lot more where they haven't done those like multi-EZA areas. Yeah. Unfortunately, or EZA areas, I'm sorry. EZA battles, rather, where it's like a bunch of characters all on one. I feel like they haven't done that as much recently, unfortunately. But anyhow, I hope they do it again. Because eventually,
cool. I mean, we'll get some. I think during when was the last time we got one? I don't even know, but it doesn't.
We'll get like Peppy Gals 3 or something, or like Genshin
the
Rivals
Peppy
like
Gals
5
one.
or whatever we're on now for that one.
Exactly. So we'll see. That'll be in August. So
Yeah.
all right. Just one last thing I want to talk about when it comes to global before I move on to GP is next weekend there's another world tournament.
Yes.
The really good character is the Super Saiyan Gohan. But the rest of them are like kind of mediocre, I know at this point, in terms of GP. But you'll be surprised. Some of them, when they come on global and you consider them in the global like meta, like the World Tournament Goku, and the other Super Saiyan Goku, pretty decent cards. And same with the Bojack. So it was a good batch on release, and I think global players will use them and be like, "Oh, you're not too bad, right?" Especially that Gohan, really good. But again, just wanted to quickly touch on it. We're not going to talk about it until next week in depth with the cards potentially, but because by that time the world tournament will be on a global. It is cool that they're pushing these world tournaments. It sucks more world tournaments in a short time frame, but that just shows us a sign closing in to the sync, which I think is better than nothing, right?
Yep.
And it's free Dragonstone, so like, you know.
I mean, it is free for order stones, right? So that's good to keep that in mind too.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Now we have the GP Dokkan stuff when it comes to more EZAs again. So I guess we'll talk about the big boy Int Gotenks here. Now I know I have used Int Gotenks in multiple stages, but have you two guys have you tried Int Gotenks out, or for Ningen's case, have you seen any showcases? If not, I can go first, and then I'll have you guys follow up on that.
Go for it, bro.
All right.
Lay it down. Show me something fresh.
I've seen some screenshots and stuff, but obviously, as we've said in some of the previous episodes, I kind of steer away from watching a lot of content on JP units when they first come out, just so I can kind of get my own first impressions when they come out on global. But being said, I do still look at like the calcs, and I see people posting screenshots of things and stuff, so I've got a bit of an idea. But yeah, if you've actually used them, then you can feel free to take it away.
Well, there we go. So I've used this Int Gotenks in a couple of different events. I've gotten a good feel for him. I think this Int Gotenks is a pretty good EZ, definitely a successful one. In comparison to Ajo Bardock, I think he's better than Esther Super Vegeta as well. I think he is a more in tune EZ with the 9th anniversary content, which is good. I think, in my opinion, anyways, considering he's again only on JP right now, anyways. And I like that he has that dodge chance in him. Very, very nice. He's essentially like, the good thing about them is that pre-Z, we know he had all those like RNG aspects of him where it's like high chance for this attack, then another high chance for this separate attack. Same with the defense. They really streamlined it. And instead of making his actual base stats very RNG reliant, what they did is they gave him dodge chance, right? And all RNG is basically in that dodge chance where he has the high chance to dodge. After he dodges, he gets a separate chance. Then he only once in a Super Saiyan form has a chance for an extra 50% attack on Super. But that's really it. They made him a lot less RNG dependent, which I think is really, really cool. In his Super Saiyan form, they gave him a high chance to heal 30% HP, which is useful considering the fact that, again, his active skill transformation into Super Saiyan 3, you do need to be above an HP threshold of 70%. So if you do have that HP threshold, if you're under the HP threshold and then you proc the heal and you heal above 70%, I think that's where it becomes very useful. Now, it's a base Gotenks and Super Saiyan Gotenks could look decent. But I'm not like super impressed with what they're doing. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, though, is where he goes absolutely insane. I mean, he's guaranteed critting on that first turn, and then he's doing like 15, 16, 17 mil attack stats. He has a guaranteed additional super attack with no restrictions, 70% chance dodge with no restrictions. And then even after the first turn, he still has a high chance to dodge. His defense is nearing like about a million range or so with his pure defensive stat with a 70% chance to dodge. And then he's just doing a lot of damage. I mean, overall, just a very, very good character in terms of his stats. Being able to live these super attacks with the dodge chance is really good. And he's on a lot of teams, man. I mean, Earthbred Fighters, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, there's Master Evolution, Hybrids, Majibu Saga, Transformation Boost, Super Saiyan. Like, he's on so many of these different teams that you could just throw him on there. And he's going to be more best suited as a floater, I think, because when you go, the tech with this guy is he has the transformation to Super Saiyan 3 on his 4th turn. So what you do is you get him into Super Saiyan, you flow him off, then when he returns, it'll be his 4th turn, so that you could technically go Super Saiyan 3 a turn early, because if you keep him on rotation, it'll be 5 turns rather than 4 turns. So you can keep this guy as a floater. In Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 3, his defense raise on a super attack effect is also 4 turns. So you're able to keep the defense raise if you float him around. And that will be very, very useful for him. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this Gotenks. I think he looks pretty good overall. And I think they did a fantastic job on his EZA, man. I would say he's incredible. All around, right? He's him. He is him. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks especially is him.
You love to see it.
And
I'm glad that they did him good.
Yeah, I just love that he's not RNG dependent, not team restricted. He's just straight up Gotenks, right?
And the cool thing will be is that if, it does happen to be like a Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks or Part 2, obviously, because, Super Saiyan 3 is not this guy's base form. You'll actually be able to link them together. So that will be cool, too. You'll be able to get a lot of usage. Because to be fair, I feel like there's not really like a crazy base Gotenks, right? At least someone that would be relevant in today's meta besides this guy. So, that definitely gives him the name advantage. Yeah, just good.
It's kind of funny to think because obviously he's been compared to Kefla a lot because he's the first EZA since Kefla came out that people consider to be on that same kind of level. And it is kind of funny to think that obviously Kefla's not out on JP and Gotenks isn't out on Global, so they're quite similar.
Oh yeah, that is funny.
Respectively, like the best EZA on their own version, right? Which is kind of funny. But then once both versions do get the other one, a lot of those teams that you've mentioned, like they're on a lot of the same teams as well because they transform up throughout those forms. They're on the Super Saiyans team, they're on Power Beyond Super Saiyan, they're on Fused Fighters, like they're on a lot of teams together, which is kind of cool.
It's cool.
So yeah, they can work really well together, and they share a good few links as well because of things like Fused Fighter and then Fierce Battle Super Saiyan, all that kind of stuff.
And the good thing is, since Gotenks doesn't need key, you could set up the orbs for Kefla, right?
Yeah,
true.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, so they can work out quite nicely. It'll be interesting to see them again, like on a couple of on the same teams. I don't know if they share any 200% teams. I'm going to assume potentially not, but I actually don't know.
No, I mean I could check real quick.
Not sure,
guess, right? I mean they're probably on. I mean the Super Saiyans, a Super Saiyan trio, 200%.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah, they'll be on that one.
Yeah.
So.
But besides that, I don't think they actually share any teams. Off the top of my head, let me double check here with Kefla. I can actually pull her up right here, and they are on Topo's 200% team together, right? They're both on Topo's and Fusions of
Topo.
Oh,
so
yeah,
still only
J.
So wait, so you the only? Well, I mean, you can't run them together anyway because they're, both not on both versions, but. So I guess that means it's literally the trio, or you have to be on JP essentially when that comes out.
Yeah. So if let's say they both Kefla's EZA come to JP, then you could run them on Topo's team, Fusions of Monsters team, and the Super Saiyan trio. Probably I might run Topo's team because that could be fun, but we'll see whenever they come together. It could be fun to see what kind of setups and what kind of shenanigans they could do.
Be interesting to see as well how good he is on like a 170 team, because obviously I said earlier about using Kefla on like the Vegeta team and stuff like that. Even on a 170 team, Kefla is still really good. So that's what we like to see. Good EZAs.
Last thing I want to point out about this Gotenks is a lot of people are confused. That separate 20% and 10% chance dodge, that's only a one-time upgrade. So he dodges, and then he gets that 20% for the rest of the turn. But that is also separate. So it doesn't make his high chance to dodge into a great chance to dodge. or when he's in Super Saiyan 3, he doesn't go from 70% to 90%.
Yeah, I remember when we first read his details, it was like, oh my god, he goes up to 90% chance to dodge. That's crazy. But,
but it is unfortunately separate, right? So, I mean, that's just how the game works. Maybe in the future they fix that. I don't know if it almost feels like they intended to be that way, but then they don't know the game works like that. It's very weird,
that wouldn't surprise us considering it is Dokkan. They don't test their own units, so
it would not surprise me, dude. But that's not for this Gotenks. We also did get a couple of other Sub-EZAs that happened during the celebration. We got 4 in total. We got Int Topo, AGL Super Saiyan Gotenks, Physical Ribrian, and then the Physical Great Saiyaman. So they're all pretty good. I think I want to chime in on one, but then I can let y'all. Well, they're not all pretty good. I think one of them to me really stands out.
I was gonna say I'm raising an eyebrow as the Physical Great Saiyaman image comes up on the screen, and you say they're all really good,
except for him. I'm so disappointed. I mean, we're talking about him. I'll bring him up first.
Dude, I wanted his EZA to be good.
I think he was maybe the most anticipated.
Yeah, because his card is so random but so cool. Like, as much as a lot of the time,
art is so cool too.
Yeah, man. It's like people aren't always the biggest fan of like the Great Saiyaman as a character, but like especially because of that particular bit from the World Tournament, and yeah, his card art just looks really cool. I remember because he's an old unit as well, so I remember having him like back in the day, and when he first got his TUR Awakening, and it was like, wow, yeah, like this art's cool. And so then for the last like couple of years, it's been like, when are they going to EZA this guy? Like, hopefully he's good. And they dropped the ball. I mean, I haven't seen gameplay of him, so I don't know how bad he is, but you can tell from reading his kit that he's just not on the same level as the other ones. And it's a shame for characters like him. He's very niche, like with the unique name. So it sucks that he's not good, right? Because as we've said many times before, if they give like a random Super Saiyan Goku an EZA and it sucks, then it doesn't really matter because I'll use one of the other like 20 Super Saiyan Gokus. But yeah, like this guy was
Fruits of Training Goku.
Yeah, it's like this guy was in a unique position, and unfortunately, his EZA is just disappointing, which is a shame.
It's the biggest thing is that he doesn't get defense when attacking. That's it. If he got 50% defense when attacking, or he has 180% attacking defense. He should have gotten 180% attacking defense when attacking, and then he'd be good. Because the multiplicative stats, it means a lot. And he has to be ran specifically on Defenders of Justice or Exploding Rage.
Yeah.
And against an extreme class enemy. Yeah. And he has to get his additional super attack chance. There's a lot of things that you have to make go your way for him. And he has to be in this really specific scenario.
Yeah.
And he's also it's also a thing where most of the hardest bosses now are super class anyways.
Yeah.
So he's not even going to get that 30% reduction, which is not even that great. It's just 30%, right? On a banner unit that's getting like 700k defense maybe at best. Like that's not enough, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing we've said before about that's really disappointing is like when they release new units or new EZAs and they just don't align with what is the latest content, because it's bad enough in terms of looking at a unit's performance, like seeing what their defense levels are and things like that, and saying like, this unit came out after the anniversary, but their stats aren't good enough for the events. But then it makes it even worse with stuff like that, where it's like the anniversary brought all this new content where most of the bosses are super types. And then they give us this EZA, which, like we said, for a lot of people was quite anticipated, but they make a big part of his kit like versus extreme enemies. So it's like, wow. So he's not good against like any of the anniversary content then. It's like,
this guy feels like he's built for pre-anniversary. Like if he came on the Fusions of Monster meta, this guy would cook.
Yeah.
But maybe he was supposed to. I don't know. It kind of feels like they do that sometimes. Or like, I know that can't be how it works, right? But like, I swear sometimes they make a unit's kit and then they'll like throw it on the thumb drive and toss it in the desk drawer and then find it a couple months later and be like, oh, we forgot to release this, Bob.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the only way to explain why so many times that happens, where the units feel outdated or feel like they were designed for a previous meta, right? Is like maybe they just were and then they forgot all about them for some reason.
Yeah.
And then rather than
know,
update
or they just
them,
got
like they're
yeah,
just
like
like
discontinued.
just
or
push it
something.
out, like
Yeah, but then sometimes do the opposite, where like a unit comes from the future, basically.
Like, okay, we'll
They
talk about
time
this.
travel.
Giant form Ribrianne is absolutely busted. I don't think they intended for her to be as good as she is, but it's also a thing where I feel like sometimes they don't understand how their game works. For some reason. So what happened is they made the one important change to her that was really necessary for her to be really good. Because sometimes with these characters, just like the Great Saiyan, what they did with him is, so it's for these really old characters. This Great Saiyan Ribrianne, they had an attack raise for multiple turns. Like Great Saiyan
Wait,
has
did you say Great Saiyan Ribrianne? Dude,
no, just
that'd
like
be
this
an
Great
insane cut.
that's the
just like with
crossover we all
Saiyaman,
need.
with
I
her
do not
and
want to
Ribrianne.
see that.
No, with her and Saiyaman, right? Ribrianne and Saiyaman, right? For EZA, they had a multiple turn attack raise, but that was 50%. Like these really old characters, like in 2017, like had raise attack for 3 turns or raise attack for 6 turns. But in the data, that's a 50% buff rather than the 30% buff we're used to. So when some of these characters EZA and they get attack and defense added to that, the defense also becomes 50% rather than 30%. Think of remember the very old Goten, Trunks, and 18 that EZA'd?
Yes.
The same thing happened to them where they got defense added there and then it ended up being 50% defense for 6 turns, which is why they were so good when they came out, because they actually had a 50% raise rather than a 30% raise. With the Saiyaman, for example, they just added a 1-turn defense raise, 50%, rather than adding it to that attack. With Ribrianne, they added it to attack and defense 60%. No. Okay, I'm stupid. They made the attack raise 6 turns into attack and defense raise for 6 turns.
Yeah.
So she has a 6-turn, 50% attack and defense raise. Then she gets 80% on super. Then she gets start of turn buffs with nuking. She creates rainbow key spheres, and she gets an 88% chance to dodge.
Yeah, 88%. That's crazy.
And then I think the stupidest part is that they made her get a guaranteed additional super attack with her rainbow key spheres. While it's making her a rainbow orb changer. So she's always gonna be double, triple supering, getting 50% defense with each of those super attacks. Then she gets 80% when attacking. So if she's at if she stacks up to 1,000,000 defense start of turn, when she gets her 80% defense on super, that's a multiplicative. So it ends up being 1.8 mil defense, and she has an 88% chance dodge.
It makes you think, how does this keep happening with these units when this is banner unit, well, not even banner unit, but general pool physical Ribrianne? Who designed this EZA, and why were they not the one who was supposed to design AGL Bardoc's EZA, who's a Dokkan fest?
We
unironically think you could say this Ribrianne's better than Gotenks.
Yeah.
I talked about this with the boys recently. The current speculation is that we have a EZA A team and a B team. All of the good EZAs are done by the A team, and all the bad ones are done by the B team. And surely it must be that way. Obviously we have no way to know that for sure, but there's no way that the people who design the EZAs that are stinky play the game compared to the people who design the EZAs that are good, right? Clearly the person who did the Ribrianne EZA, and the Gotenks EZA is not the same person who did the Gohan EZA.
I just
it can't be. There's no way.
Even then, this Ribrianne is insanely busted for an EZA.
Yeah, for a random just general pull unit as well. You can pull her on any banner. So
right,
she's a character that came out in 2017 when her SSR release. Her SSR came out in 2018. My bad. You know when she came out? She came out with the AGL Blue Evolution Vegeta. That's when she came out.
Oh yeah.
For that Golden Week celebration.
I forgot about that.
Right. So that's crazy that she came out with Blue Evolution Vegeta, and she's in now, and she's Like on some turns, she looks better than UI Goku, right? UI
That's
Goku.
insane.
She'll have a higher chance of dodge. She has at least defensively, not overall offensively, but defensively. Like she'll have well over mill defense even before she attacks. And after she attacks, it gets close to like 2 million defense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Then she also has a giant form.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that too. That's insane on top of all that.
She has a 15% chance to go giant up to twice in a battle. So she can do it twice.
That's crazy.
That just cancels the super attack because she's guaranteed 2 turns in the giant form. So the boss is going to super you in those 2 turns. And then you don't get super attacked at all, so you don't even take damage. Like she's actually like insane. Like I don't know. I don't know. It was a mistake. They did not.
It was a mistake. Like I'm telling you, man, it can't be the same people. Like there's no way.
It's not that. It's just like they don't pay attention enough.
Well, but they do sometimes, right? Like,
they don't.
Clearly, unless it's just like they get lazy halfway through making a big batch or something.
Yeah, they start. That's you know what it is they got to work that day, and it's like right, you got to do these 4 EZAs for these 4 sub characters. So they came in all nice, good mood, got a good night's sleep, sat down with a big cup of coffee, and they started doing physical Ribrianne's EZA. And then it got to the point where they're looking at the clock, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get to go home in like 20 minutes. Now let me just quickly do the Gohan one. Whatever. There you go." Like because they started off the day all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so they did Ribrianne's EZA, so she's really good. And then they just did Gohan. Gohan's the when you had to do your homework the night before it was supposed to be handed in because you forgot to do it kind of EZA. Like so, yeah, it's got to be different people solely for the fact that how do you design Ribrianne and Gohan to release at the same time? Like
the same day. And you know what else? It's like
the same person. Like crazy.
I don't know, man. I'm not a game designer, so I don't know this, right? But like, I would venture to guess that when they make an EZA, they have to submit it through like a system or like an approval system or something, right? Like I would think that the CEO or like the Omatsu or like whoever's technically at the top for Dokkan, I would think that like Joe Schmo, Mr. EZA, who like makes the EZAs, I would think that he. You know what I mean? Like the person on top, this person who is supposed to be the leader of the group would take a look at it and be like, yeah, no, this is not good. Go back and do it. Right. Or be like, yeah, this is good. Keep it. Like you would think that they would have some kind of system to filter it because, or bro, like have someone who plays the game on staff or something, bro. Cause like, then they could at least be like, yeah, nah, this EZA, awful. Scrap it. Do it again. Like, it's just so baffling to me that they, like, if they do have some kind of system like that, then it's bad because clearly it doesn't work, right? They give you good ones and they give you bad ones. But then if they, don't have a system like that, they should. And there's no way they looked at it and goes like,
because the thing is, Ribrianne's numbers on paper look low, right? It's 80% when super attacking, 22% per key sphere obtained. And then they probably assume the 6-turn attack and defense raise is 30% and not 50%. And if you look at that on paper, it doesn't look crazy. Then the math is calculated in game, and then it's like, oh my goodness, she's doing all these additional supers and it's going absolutely busted. Because you probably wouldn't think it wouldn't be nearly as good as it looks like if it wasn't 50%. If it was 30% instead, she'd still be good, but she wouldn't be as good. Because if she's triple supering each turn, that 90% becomes 150% multiplicative. Then over 2 turns, 180% becomes 300%. And then it's a snowball effect. So that's why I think that they don't even realize that is actually a 50% buff and think it's maybe a 30% buff.
Maybe, yeah.
And
I don't know. It's still just so weird to me. Like I would really love to learn how like Dokkan works from a game development perspective someday,
Yeah.
like genuinely, because it's just so baffling to me sometimes some of the decisions they make. Like they cook so hard and then they fall off. I don't know.
I wish that I could go into one of those like, you know, like those interviews and be like,
EZA planning meeting.
why are some, like, you know, like that those interviews that they have with people
at the fan meetup,
yeah. Why are some EZAs? Why do some EZAs feel so underpowered compared to other EZAs that came out in the same release state?
Yeah,
like,
maybe they just like spin a wheel, bro.
We need to
How do you
petition.
decide?
We need to petition Goresh to somehow get onto
these
for
boys
real.
And
get an exclusive documentary, a day in the Akatsuki offices, and just like
that would be cool.
Sit down with the people that like actually pull the trigger on these things getting released in the game. And be like, so, do you test these things, or like actually what? Like, how does this work exactly? Like, it'd be very interesting to know. But
I don't know if I could believe that they test them. I'm sorry. That's my theory for a while.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like.
Oh, I think Theo just Theo, no! Theo, he's gone.
Oh no, we had we were doing so well in terms of a couple of episodes in a row with no technical difficulties, but Theo has
I think his
completely
intro
frozen.
might have cut out. It seems like his intro came out. But okay, but I'll carry on your legacy, Theo. I don't think it's someone. There's something that Annie sent in chat where he's like, oh, you know, well, it's something that I seriously think confirmed in the past, where like literally the week of or a few days before, the LR Super Saiyan 4s, they didn't even have, like, Super Saiyan 4 Goku didn't have the, like, how do I explain it? So you know, they only had attack in their passive. They didn't have defense in their passive, I believe. And then they updated it so where okay, they actually got the other stats in their passive, which is crazy. That like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, imagine if he didn't have like that 80% defense, or whatever he had pre-ZA, like just 20% defense a turn. Yeah, Goku had apparently Goku only had 80% attack and Vegeta only had 80% defense. And then like a few days before they updated it, and then they fixed it in that same week. That would have been so bad.
Wow.
It's like it's almost like they don't test them, but oh, that's me. That's weird. Well, yeah, I think Theo's
gone wrong.
Theo's gone for now. I'm sorry, y'all. Theo's just kind of gone. Now, he'll be here eventually again, you know. But
oh no,
I guess
it's all gone wrong.
In the meantime, we could talk about the last two EZAs. I'll just touch on the Super Saiyan Gotenks real quick. He seems decent for Super Battle World stuff. I don't really think he's too special other than that. Again, doesn't really have multiplicative buffs. He has a 50% support for a time limit though. So maybe you could always have some use for him somewhere. He does have a 50% defense raise for the turn. Like, it's not bad, this Gotenks for sure. I think that there could be places where he will be useful. Especially Super Battle Road, right? He'll help out all these like weaker Super Battle Road like kind of teams. And he'll always be a go-to because he's always going to be, I believe he has, let me take a look here. Yeah, he's always guaranteed double supering against these multiple enemies, and he has a high chance to stun them all. So like it'll be very good for those characters specifically. Or look for like in the Super Battle Road specifically, I mean that this Gotenks will be able to cook. He also does get dodge chance up to 50%, which could be cool. So I guess that's the thing with this Gotenks. Int Topo. Have you seen anything about Int Topo, Ningen?
So yeah, the thing about Int Topo that I wanted to know, because his details, he seems pretty good on paper. So obviously the big question is, like, is he the buff that physical Topo needed? Because I know people really wanted him to get an EZA. The toss-up was obviously between him and Tech Jiren being sort of like the ideal thematic unit to get an EZA for this celebration. So I know a lot of people were happy to see Topo be the one that gets the EZA. So I'm very interested to know. On paper, he looks like he could be decent. But yeah, I'm interested to know if he actually turned out to be good.
Yeah, I think Intopo seems to be pretty good. The biggest thing is that he does give the toughest nails link to the physical topo, which is I think it's 25% defense and 5% reduction or something like that, right? And that's huge for the physical topo. In topo, once he supers, gets to about like 800k defense range or so. I found he's guarding and he's providing 50% support. Overall, he's a decent EZA. I'm not going to say he's crazy, but he's doing exactly what he wants to do for physical topo, and that's good. I think he's pretty much exactly what we want him to be in terms of a Sub-EZA. I'll definitely take his overall performance, but of course, you do need specifically the Universe 11 or no, yeah, you do need specifically Universe 11 in the same rotation, which is that in topo, because that'll give him the guard and the extra 110% attack and defense on super. Another good thing about this guy is that he does debuff, right? He greatly lowers attack and defense. So, like with the physical topo in the Gogeta fight, right? This guy could debuff, which could be super good as well for the other characters on the team, especially if you do get a double super attack with them. So he's overall pretty decent, this in topo. I definitely like him. He's like, I would say he's probably the third best EZA in the batch behind the Ribrianne and the Int Gotenks. So pretty good.
Yeah, I was hoping that he would be decent for the team because he's, we talked about on the previous weeks, like Universe 11 didn't exactly have a ton of great options, right? So it was going to be him, the LR Jiren, or I guess potentially that Margarita card, but she'll probably get hers as part of the next update for like the Peppy Gals thing, right? So it's, it's good to see that he's actually decent. So
Dokkan Assets confirmed his internet is out, chat. So, we'll have to continue the show without him for now, I guess, and then hopefully he'll come back in later. But yeah, I'm still here, chat. I don't know my
Okay, let me sort out the camera positionings then, so we can get your face back at least.
Right.
I'll have to resize. Let me switch back to
technical difficulties, chat.
Technical difficulties of the podcast. All right, so we'll switch back to here. Then we'll turn this off, and then we'll just have to
look in the chat, Ningen, by the way.
Maneuver this one. Yeah, it should be okay.
I'll tell him, yeah.
Yeah. Because before I start resizing all the windows, if he just comes back in, I think it should be okay.
All right, chat. Dokkan Assets is going to join from his phone. So we're going to see Dokkan Assets, I guess, just back in a second. But in the meantime,
it's just me.
Yeah, in the meantime, we could talk about the... Let's see. Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to Dokkan Assets right now, actually.
We're trying to see if he's able to sort anything out.
Oh.
Hello.
Aha!
Hi.
Oh, we are.
Okay, he's back, chat.
As they say, we are so back.
Hello?
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 Hello.
Oh my gosh, dude. All right. Listen, I gotta say it. I'm gonna say it on the podcast. I hate my ISP.
Wait, is everything back up, or
I guess I don't know. I was really like, I went downstairs, checked the router, and then it was like done so, and I was like, all right, cool. Fun. I guess it just decided to go back. Yeah, that's good because we had someone cut our internet cable couple weeks ago, so I was really hoping it wasn't that. Bro, there is someone out to get us in our neighborhood because it's not the first time that it's happened, I swear. But anyway, yes, I'm back.
So, yeah, I saw someone ask about hot takes. Not yet time for hot takes, but we are going to go into a final topic here.
Hot takes? What's hot takes?
Yeah, what is hot takes?
I've never heard of that before.
There is a version
Trash
update that
takes.
was announced on the trash takes. Yeah, you know, same thing. Blah blah blah.
Wait, let me pull this up so I have the deets on hand on global here. This I'm actually pretty excited about.
Yeah,
So
because
this
we
is-
talked about this before the podcast, right? I thought this was out on JP already, which it's not. So this is quite
So
exciting.
this is not
Correct.
out on JP. I assume JP will have this announcement for probably on Sunday. or so, right? And this is the thing that was announced on Global GP previously to be happening
Yeah.
at the end of this month. And that's essentially the quest mode update. So essentially, there is a quest mode Dokkan Store UI improvements that are happening. And on GP, they also specifically said that there's going to be new quest mode area released, right, which will come in this update at the end of April. And this was also announced for global. So again, there's going to be like a story summary in each of the pages there. You're going to be able to see the rewards that are available, the drop rewards and things like that.
Which is cool.
Just a little bit of a version update for this, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And GP will also again get a new part of the story as well.
Yeah. I'm excited actually to see how those how the like quest mode summary things look, because I don't know, from the way that they showed it, I swear somewhere I saw a video, unless I'm just like completely misremembering that and hallucinating, entirely possible. But like I swear I remember seeing somewhere that like the little thing that is basically, you know, chapter 1, you know, and then it tells you the summary with you know, like the little background
in a producer's letter for GP.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a producer's letter where they showed like the actual video in motion. So I'm wondering how that's going to look in game, and like what will they do for every chapter, because obviously like sure, chapter 1 Shinron, right, makes sense. For some of the chapters they can just do like, you know, the ones that have like a cutscene, right, like obviously the funny Broly and, you know, like Broly and Paragus. I wish the Broly and Trunks active skill, right? Obviously, like that one is like a cutscene in that chapter. Easy money, they can do that. But it makes me wonder, like, what are they gonna do for like chapter 2 or like 3?
I mean,
you know, I wonder what the little things are
they're
gonna
not
be.
always going to be like animated. It's just going to be the card arts of the characters that pop in, and then
Interesting.
you know, like how they do in story events where
you
go through, and then you see like
right, like they'll have like the actual story playing out. Yeah, that makes sense.
That.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm really curious to see how they handle that, because I think that that's cool. And not only is that like a huge overhaul for the game aesthetically, because I will say, I think it's a bigger deal than people realize, because this is something that a lot of other gacha games have, where they have like, it's not that Dokkan doesn't have like animated menus per se, but definitely like not to the extent of other newer gachas, where it's like literally like you hover over a menu and then an entire anime cutscene plays out in front of your eyes, right? So like, you know, obviously it's cool that they're adding this because it makes Dokkan feel like, you know, a little bit more like a modern gacha game. So I kind of hope that they do this for other stuff too. Like obviously it doesn't have to be the case for like every single menu, because it's not necessary for every menu to be animated, but yeah, I think it's cool. I do wonder how much I do wonder how big of a data download it will be, because I'd have to imagine if they're adding, you know, video files, right, for every single chapter, it would be like the videos in Dokkan aren't crazy big, because obviously they're not that high quality anyway, right? And not to mention, obviously, it's not like it's just a straight MP4 in the game, right? Obviously, it's like the game's files that, you know, need it to run properly. But still, right, it kind of makes me wonder how much bigger the game is going to get.
Global with all the different languages.
Oh my gosh, dude. That, like, see, funny enough, at this point, bro, that is when the sync happens, that will be one of the only benefits that we still have as a JP player, is there's not as much storage space taken up on the device, bro. You love to see it. Yeah, because Global has like five? Wait, English, Spanish, like Chinese, Japanese, French, and German. So 6 languages.
Global has
6. I'm just looking at the menu now.
Yeah.
Global does have Japanese as an option, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Oh, do you mean as the text? I don't think so. I'd have to double check.
Like the voices.
I'd have to double check. The voices, yes. The text, I believe.
Voices, yeah.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it's got. I don't know if it probably won't focus on the screen, but
I've never. The only reason why I know the languages is because of what's in the data download. I've never looked at the menu.
The far right ones, I guess, are Japanese, and then is it Korean underneath? I'm not sure. but it's
let me
it's
open
like
mine.
English, German, French, Spanish, and then I assume Japanese, and then I think it's Korean, or maybe the top one is Chinese. Actually, I don't know. I'm not
It's
really
probably
sure.
Chinese. Yeah. Although Korean is in the game. Wait, I think I may have forgotten about Korean.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me double check.
I mean,
double check to a data download cross reference.
In the meantime, though, there is something extra I think we should talk about, and that is enemy skill boost. So that should also be included in this update, basically, even though it seems like it'll go live during Golden Week. And what happened is they announced that basically from May all the way through into the worldwide download celebration, even there is going to be enemy skill boost, right? And it says there's going to be damage boosting skills, attack and defense changing skills, and etc. So again, this is starting from Golden Week, so I assume in the data like update we will see different like hints at a new mechanic for enemies, right? Just like how we got the territory skills during the 9th anniversary. This is put on the JP and global little update there as well. So it should be coming to both versions, of course, and that'll be starting in the Golden Week celebration. So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of new skills and stuff like that both versions will be getting.
Yeah.
I assume global could even get an introduction of territory skills, right? But we can't really say for sure until we actually see what this version update will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the enemy skills thing sounds like it could be interesting, just for because obviously with the anniversary events, we've seen, you know, all they've done essentially to make the bosses tougher is that they're starting to hit ridiculous levels of damage. It'd be kind of cool to see things like maybe the boss doesn't hit you particularly hard, but then depending on, I'm not going to think of one off the top of my head, but like a character that has a special defensive form or something like that uses an ability where it then massively lowers like all of your character's attack.
Oh,
so
that'd be
it's not like they're gonna blow you away that turn with like a 3 million damage super, but then all your units that would normally be dropping like 18 million attack stat supers are doing like 2 million or something.
That is pretty cool.
Be kind of interesting, something like that. It's kind of like a stalling out phase.
That is cool.
Be kind of interesting. Something different than just the boss's numbers they hit you for are bigger now, like kind of thing. Would be cool.
By the way,
I like it. It could be really interesting to see some new boss like differences for sure.
Oh yeah, because it was bothering me, I double checked because I when you said that, I was like, that doesn't sound right, because I know for a fact that I've looked if global had Japanese as an option.
Yeah.
So it is only the voices that Japanese is the option. It is indeed, it's English, Spanish, French, Korean, Chinese, and German.
Okay, so it's Chinese, not Japanese. Yeah, so it's Chinese and Korean, but not Japanese. Which I guess makes sense, right? Because if you want it in Japanese text,
right,
you
just play
the
JP
version. But
it is kind of funny though, because you know, obviously, like the whole meme recently with that was that Omatsu plays global, right? Because obviously we saw that.
That was kind of funny. I know that doesn't deserve like its own topic, but that was hilarious. Where it's like, I get, I get doing. They're trying to put out like a, what's the word I'm looking for here? But it's just like a public
promo thing,
promo tweet, and it's like, hey, global players, like this is Amatsu's top score on Chain Battle on burst mode. Can you beat it? And then everyone in the community collectively is like, hang on, Amatsu, the guy that was the head producer for JP, because we had Koto Future Global, now he's the head producer for both. But you're telling me that he's not a JP main, like he plays global, like. I saw a lot of, I think I put one myself, but I saw a lot of the, when they brought out that secondary post that was like, Matsu has a new high score, and it's 6,000.
Like,
just put the like, press X for doubt meme in like the replies. Like,
you know what? I still like that they do those posts though, but
it is cool.
Well, they're super cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's a great way to engage with the community.
Yeah.
And I think they're also, you know, they're also aware of the fact that like Omatsu has basically achieved meme status in the community, right? Like, I don't know what it is. I think it's just because like heads of companies or like the head representative of a company is more of like a public figure nowadays. But I swear, like in every community where like the head of the company, so to speak, right, is like has ever been mentioned once. They're like a meme within that community. It's so funny. But yeah, no, like, because I remember it was so funny because I pulled up the tweet. Everybody's talking about how he doesn't have the androids in Golden Frieza rainbowed, which was very funny. I was like, dog, I'm right there with you. My goat is not a whale. You love to see it. Because all the Unity and Rainbow are old. Yeah, it was funny. I mean,
I didn't even
honestly, like, I'm like pretty positive. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty positive that he probably plays both versions of the game. Right? You would think that the guy who's in charge of both versions of the game would play both versions of the game.
I mean, maybe.
You know,
wow,
you never know.
Because it could be one of those things as well. Like, if his job is like Dokkan all day, every day, does he even play it?
Then maybe he doesn't want to. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how much he loves the game, I guess.
Yeah.
It is very interesting. I mean, I don't know. You would think that, like, from like that, you're right, like almost to understand both versions of the game, he would do both. But I guess if it's just like his casual account that he just plays on the side, then like, yeah, it could be. I mean, to be fair though,
also, even when he does the global producer videos, he speaks Japanese with English subtitles. So can he speak and read English? Do we know? Like, does he really play global? Like,
no way.
I'm pretty sure I remember him speaking English at some point, but that is a fair point. I actually don't remember.
But then, to be fair, like, it was always the same, even with Koto in the producer videos as well.
Yeah.
So. Plus, at the end of the day, it's like the meme of like the people who actually play JP. It's like, if you've played global, you know what all the menus do, so it works the same. Like, the other way around too. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to think about.
And I think some English is mandatory in Japan, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, I could just be an ignorant American right now for sure, but like. So let me know, chat, if I'm wrong on that one. Absolutely. But as far as I am aware, there is a little bit of English that is like required in school to learn. Obviously, it depends on if people, take it and then like, run with it and learn the language more. Right. But, I know that as far as I'm aware, anyway, they, have to learn a little English. So I guess that makes sense, right? That, obviously that he would be able to read it at least. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Japan that is in English too. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff that's in Japanese, but so either way though, yeah, very interesting though. I think that is cool. I do hope that this is kind of relevant. This will be the last thing I say about this topic, because obviously we'll move on from the funny app update. But I do hope that they actually do add more languages, because I think that would be cool. I mean, to be fair, they do have like, I guess, the heavy hitters out of the way, right? Like when I think of like alternate languages for a game, like these are like pretty much most of the languages that I would think about, but obviously there's so many languages out there.
I think in terms of the ones that are the most commonly spoken, I think they have got all the main ones in there. But... yeah,
listen, they got Spanish in there. They're good. For all the Spanish speaking, like Dragon Ball fans out there, they got Spanish as a language option. They're chilling, bro. Yeah. But no, I don't know, because I've even seen sometimes like on like under my own tweets where people will comment. I know this happened a lot where people were celebrating when like we were like talking about the fact that there was going to be new languages. There are a lot of people, like, I was surprised to see under some of the tweets that I made talking about like, yeah, here's the languages that Global's gonna get, blah 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 blah, and people were like, oh my gosh, thank you Dokkan for adding my language, this will be so much easier to play the game. And like, it was like a surprising amount of people, right? It's fantastic. People, right? But I have seen people still say like, I hope that they add my language to the game.
They need to add the Spanish voices as active skills and stuff in the future. Like, see, that's me, because I did grow up watching. Like,
that's fair. I completely agree with you. The only reason why I'm saying C is because of money. Like, I think they wouldn't go for it. I think that's a fantastic idea, but I think that Bandai wouldn't want to invest the money.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting, obviously, that you can have the, like, on Global, you can have the JP, like, voices, but on JP, you can't have the English voices.
Yeah, it's weird, but I guess it's like, it's a type of thing where it's like, well, since
You know the
they're
funniest thing?
basically
We could say like, oh, it's money, and it's just because Bandai doesn't put enough money into the game.
yeah, true. Well, I don't know. It's
If
like,
they really wanted, but
to be
Bandai is
fair,
like, no.
I think it's also a thing of like that one. I feel like is something where they maybe care about the players a little bit more, ironically enough, because that one to me kind of feels like the thing of like people who live in Japan and experience Dragon Ball do not care about the English voices, right? They could not care less what our people sound like for their, show. But like when it comes to obviously, us, right? Obviously, people have experienced the show in so many different ways in so many different languages, whether that be through the Japanese reading subtitles or whether that be through the dub in their language, or whatever the case may be. Obviously, it's experienced in so many different ways outside of Japan, right? That I think it makes more sense. And obviously they know that like us, like, weeaboo trash anime fans, like enjoy hearing the voices in Japanese, right? Some people prefer it over the English. So I think they know, and not to mention in that aspect of it, right? It is pretty like, not like it's like extremely easy, but like when it comes to the, how the process has worked for so many years, obviously they port the stuff from JP over to global, and then they like change the language on the asset, or like whatever, they like update the asset so then the language that you're playing in is in there. So I'd imagine that it would probably be easier for them to take the JP stuff that they already have in the files, and they really don't even have to touch it, right? They literally just have to have a button that says English Japanese for the voices, right? They don't have to do anything extra like translating it or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's no extra work for global to have the Japanese voices because they're just there in the files already.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
But on the other hand, right, obviously the reverse is not as easy.
I wonder,
and I think they just don't care.
It is kind of interesting. I don't know if this is a thing that is known, and obviously we don't need to go into a whole massive like side tangent about it, but it's true because a lot of people see anime for the first time, especially if you're younger, like on TV where you live, so it's in your language, and then as people start to like get into anime a bit more, then obviously people start to enjoy watching the original like Japanese with subtitles. But I wonder if there's got to be, even if it's really small, there's got to be, I wonder what the subsection of anime fans in Japan is that actually like watching the English dubs of any of the shows. Like there's got to be some out there somewhere, but
for sure. There has to be interesting to know,
but that's the thing, we've talked about it before. Like I have never been particularly snobbish when it comes to like sub versus dub, especially because I used to watch a lot of the anime stuff while I was working my old job, like working night shifts and stuff. So because I had to look at like multiple monitors, it's so much easier to be sort of watching it but just being able to hear everything rather than like you look away for like 30 seconds and then you have to look back and you're like, oh, I have no idea what that person just said because I missed all the subtitles. Like,
dude, I cannot bring you around some people I know because their reaction would basically be like, you're not watching the show, rewatch it again, buddy.
It's like that's the thing. Like, I mean, there are very, very few examples, but like, there's the occasional dub that is on par or better than.
Oh yeah. Well, not all dubs are bad, right?
But yeah.
And I think most modern dubs at least like try. I think it's also, it's definitely a thing of the times as well.
Yes.
That obviously,
now that anime is a lot more mainstream and more popular.
Yeah.
In the past, you had like very small studios, the same like 10 people doing everybody's voices and stuff like that. Whereas now it's obviously taken a lot more serious.
We are not going to talk about the Bang Zoom dub of BBS. No, sir. Right. Yikes.
So, anyways, there is one last thing to actually talk about before we head into everyone's favorite little part of the show. But this is the fact that I just want to quickly touch on the fact it is possible we get Golden Week teasers this week. So last year, we did see a producer's letter on Global that did announce the theme for the Golden Week celebration. Essentially, what they said is they're like, I'm going to bring up the literal text right here. They announced that the aim for the top Dokkan campaign will be live at the same time as the GP version. The campaign will be all about the fights of Goku and friends as they aim to reach the top of the world tournaments. Then they talked about a Dokkan dual Dokkan festival, along with a new type of skill that can be met. Now, since the past few producers letters, it has basically been a thing where Global and GP have both gotten videos for these letters and stuff. So I assume this year could be in a video format.
Probably.
So I think that it's very likely this week we could see some announcement of a theme or what's upcoming for the Golden Week celebration after we get the version update, and they could talk about, oh, there's also going to be new enemy skills coming as we previously talked about. And then maybe they could even indulge in what those enemy skills could be. And we would basically know based on the data download for this week of the version update. So it'll be very interesting to see what they get announced. I mean, it'd be crazy if they even like are just like, yeah, here's the card arts, right? Because I remember for Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Hirudegarn, right? Yeah, we do have those like reveals early because of the fact that there's the, I think it's Jump Festa. Is it Jump Festa? Or whenever they revealed the card
Which one are you talking about?
For Super Saiyan 3 and Hirudegarn, like in December.
That was at the Japanese event thing. They just showed the SSR arts, I think.
Yeah, they showed the SSR arts.
Yeah, that would have been Jump Festa.
That was the thing, wasn't it? Where they showed it at the event because someone that was there live tweeted a photo of the screen. And then they posted it on Twitter like an hour later.
Shout out to the homie,
No, because I remember I was...
Yes, it was Jump Festa.
Yeah. I was searching on Twitter the Japanese text on the
I remember that.
And then I found it, and then I quoted it, and then that person like exploded. I remember you talked about it, and then he was like so happy that you followed it back or something. Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness, this is the first time I blew up on Twitter, and he was like, so happy.
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah, that was funny. Because that guy literally like, you know, it was bro's hit tweet, like his actual hit tweet.
I saw it, and he was the first one that posted it. I was like, this guy's gonna be making bank today. I quoted him.
Better hope my man is Twitter blue because Elon's gonna be paying tonight, baby.
Yeah. But I could see it possible where they even show us the SSR arts because I feel like they like revealing stuff early now because of leaks and stuff like that. I think it's good for them to reveal on their own terms. So it'd be interesting to see like the SSR arts even. And especially because it's going to be in a video format, but who knows? We could also not get that. But what would you guys like to see?
Yeah, because it builds the hype as well. Because also one of the things, you know, it didn't happen with Goku and Hirudegarn. Well, I guess it it didn't because he transforms. But sometimes we've seen the SSRs where their forms are different to the TURs as well. Yeah. So even that in and of itself can be interesting because if we see only the SSR art, it still doesn't 100% confirm what the TUR actually is, which is kind of cool. And obviously leads to like the speculation and discussion and stuff like that. I know we've talked about it a bit before, so just as a quick one for me, I think at this point, I'm fairly settled in on the thing I want it to be the most is GT Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Baby and have the first Super Saiyan 4 transformation and then Baby do like Super Baby 1 that transforms into Super Baby 2 or something like that. Either that or Saiyan Saga Goku versus Vegeta, I think. But yeah, those are the two sort of top picks for me as of right now. Theo, what are you thinking?
Gotcha. That is a good question. So I know it's not going to happen, especially considering we had World Tournament stuff last year, but I would still, just because I literally watched it recently, the Tien versus Goku fight would probably be my number one pick at the moment, right? Obviously, though, besides that, because obviously, like, even though I would love for that to happen, I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. You know, I got to try and, like, keep my expectations realistic. Man, that is a good question. I don't know. Funny enough,
it's tough.
It is tough. Funny enough, I almost kind of want them to bamboozle us.
Okay.
As weird as this sounds, I kind of want them to bamboozle us and have the Part 2 LR not be Gotenks, and then have Golden Week be like Gotenks and something else.
Okay.
I guess it would have to be Super Boo. I don't know. I think it would be like first of all, it'd just be funny because obviously we're all expecting, like Gotenks to be the Part 2 LR, and then it could be some other thing. But I don't know, man. Like, I think the boy, I know a lot of people consider him to be like a character who would be like yellow coin LR tier or something like that. But I don't know, man. I think the boy deserves a Dokkan Fest LR.
Who?
I think he deserves one.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be Golden Week.
Well, it wouldn't be Golden Week. That's true. I don't know. I think he just deserves like another Dokkan Fest. I don't know, man.
Yeah, because the Int one was the last one, right? So
yeah, the Int one was the last one. You're right.
Yeah, new one would be cool.
You know what? Actually, low key would be kind of cool though. I still kind of, I don't know. I don't think that they would ever do this idea. But I kind of still want them to do like a casual close dual Dokkan Fest type of thing.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it on the podcast. Like, I would love one where it's like the pre-cell games, Gohan and Goku, and then like at the end of when Trunks is going back to the future and Vegeta's wearing like the green shirt or whatever, like that could be kind of cool. Or I guess you could also do like the Dragon Ball Super equivalent, where they train, but then again, Vegeta's not in as much of casual clothes. So I don't know. Yeah. I kind of like low key, bro. I know it's so dumb, but the Coat Goku and the Bad Man Vegeta dual Dokkan Fest would go crazy, bro.
So my idea is Saiyan Saga potentially.
Yep.
Because I think something related to Goku versus Vegeta, and the reason why is because we have the EZAs that haven't come out yet, I guess technically, but the Int Super Saiyan 2 Goku and the Tech Majin Vegeta.
I really want those EZAs.
True.
Same with the Tech Broly, so maybe it could be like something like Broly movie related, but I'm thinking...
I don't think so for anniversary, but unless you mean Z Broly.
We're talking about Golden Week.
Yeah.
Again, the Tech Z Broly.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant whenever... Sorry, my brain always defaults to Super Broly now whenever I hear somebody say Broly movie stuff. So I'm like, huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
no, the very old Tex, Broly from the movie 10. Yeah. He hasn't gotten his EZA yet, but I feel like they might save him and then physical Goten and Trunks for like a future, like later on, Broly celebration. Imagine future saga Broly. But what's it called? I think like something related to Goku versus Vegeta. I saw a lot of people talking about what if we get Goku and Vegeta based off the Kakarot ending.
Yeah, we talked about that on one of the previous episodes.
We talked about that.
Yeah, because someone recommended me to watch it, and I watched the cutscene of them fighting.
It looks
and
so good.
Yeah, when we started this segment just now, when I said about I was trying to pick something that I think it could potentially actually be, but dude, if you after watching that, I mean, I don't want to say if you let me pick, because if I could pick absolutely anything, it'd probably be Heroes related, which we can't actually get for Golden Week. But if I could pick what the Golden Week Dual Dokkan Fest would be, it would be like the end of Z Goku Kakarot thing, end of Z Super Saiyan 3 Goku versus Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. With the final flash and like the big Kamehameha. That would be so awesome.
Either that or Saiyan Saga. And I think, if we got like a Saiyan Saga celebration, physical Raditz EZA, and then EZA the year 7.
Solo Tanoka!
EZA him, the physical, not the physical, the Int Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Majin Vegeta.
Yeah.
Then EZA the Kaioken Goku and Grade 8 Vegeta from year 7. Screw it. Just easy end them as well. We're already easing Raditz in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, make it a banger.
Just go absolutely crazy.
Celebration. Just go crazy. I think that'd be really awesome.
Loki, I know it'd be stupid. What if they just did Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Majin Vegeta?
I mean, I guess they could, but I mean, they could.
Nah, dude, I think
the animations of those characters suck. To be honest,
I mean, it makes sense because obviously it's us. We're like the same people, but I feel like we like click into the same like the waterfall of ideas, because after you saying that about Goku Vegeta, I'm pretty sure we said this on a previous episode as well, but give me the half of it's a what if, I guess, but give me the what if Dual Dokkan Fest for Golden Week of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta versus Goku versus Super Saiyan 3 Majin Vegeta.
That'd be crazy.
True.
I remember us talking about that.
That would be awesome.
We did talk about it one time, because I do remember.
Because Super Saiyan 3 Majin Vegeta, I don't know if he's been in other games other than Heroes, because obviously Dokkan doesn't consider normal Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta a Heroes character, because he's from other games as well. But I don't know if Super Saiyan 3 Majin Vegeta is in anything other than Heroes.
I don't think so. But
let
that could
me
be
look.
interesting.
I have
The
a
reason I
figure
would
of
like
it, but it's
Saiyan
unofficial.
Saga is because I think finally wrapping up all these Saiyan Saga units that they released separately from each other,
How would I
just
even
getting a
find this?
good Saiyan Saga setup would be awesome. Then later in the year, give us like a Namek celebration and then kind of bring together like a lot of these Namek characters that are old and could EZA, right?
Yeah.
But I think like updating Saiyan Saga like a final time and actually respecting the Goku and Vegeta would be awesome, in my opinion. But we'll see. They could also do, and I know a lot of people are talking about a Blue Falcon and Goku versus Hit. I think that'd be a really
That would be sick, dude. People have been wanting that as a dual Dokkan Fest for so long.
Yeah,
and like
I think
that is like literally one of the best moments in Super. Like I swear, if you think about Dragon Ball Super, right? Basically, you're like three things that your mind goes to is that fight, right? Vegito Blue, yeah, Rose also, right? And then like, you know, MUI at Jiren, basically. You know, like,
well, because that's
like, okay, what are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that's the thing is that Goku versus Hit, well, the Universe 6 versus Universe 7, that was the first like new content, quote unquote.
Right.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because
it
they
was the
started
first
off
original
Super by
arc.
just like retelling the movies. Yeah. So then,
I'm telling you, bro.
silly thing.
When we get, you know, DBS Ultra or whatever they're gonna call it, right? You know, if they redo Gogeta and Superhero, I am gonna lose it. I am gonna lose my mind. Bro, I'm telling you, because I watched DBS when it aired, and I saw both of the movies in the theaters when they came out. Man, I cannot tell you how disappointing it was, like having, you know, like just having to rewatch it.
We finally got new movies. Then we finally got the announcement the show was coming back, and then when the show came back, it was like, oh, this is the movie that I saw like 3 years ago. Like,
I think what they should
do, but worse.
They need to start the Mora arc, and I'd be okay if they did super retelling, but cover what the manga did as well. Where it's like in the manga we saw like the whole Goten and Trunks stuff with Dr. Hedo, and then I think just because they're gonna likely cover that, they naturally go into superhero, maybe like a quick recovering. Ideally, they just skip it, but who knows?
Yeah,
right?
it's weird why they even did it in the first place, because obviously so many. I mean, I guess it might be a thing of the times, because again, as more anime have started to do that with movies and stuff, I feel like now if they did it, they probably wouldn't care as much about retelling it. Because
I mean, the thing that makes it is because that news story is like an extension of the movie, where it's like there's the prequel, then the ending where the manga has ended recently and is on a break right now. Is like tied right
into
the movie ends.
Well, and it's so weird
it's
too.
An extended ending.
Yeah. It's so weird too because like I remember for the, you know, like right after the Gogeta movie shenanigans, it's so funny because the manga just pulled the like
that like the picture worst. Of them.
Yeah, it was just like that image of, you know, Broly and Gogeta, and was like, go watch the film to find out what happens. Anyway, here's what happens afterward. It's like, brother, you cannot tell people who are following your manga to just go watch a movie to get the info. Like could you imagine
funny.
if like, bro, I mean, it's so funny. Could you imagine if you were reading, like, obviously this is a little bit of a different example because obviously, like, you know, books are then adapted into movies rather than like, you know, manga being adapted and taking place, you know, how they do it. But like, could you imagine if it was like you were reading a book, like you're reading The Hunger Games, right? And then, you know, it's like a prequel, and then you pick up book 2, and then when you open the first page, it says, hey, to find out what happened in between the book that you just read last and this one, go watch the film. Anyway, enjoy reading. Like, no one would be happy with that, right? Like, that'd be a terrible way to do anything. I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, I feel like you can't do that where you, like, take someone away from the medium that they're experiencing something as and tell them to go watch something else like that.
Yeah, it's weird when they do it in any format, because the thing that springs to mind for me, I can't remember if I don't know if it would have ever come up on here, but one of the things that annoys me about, I never played all of the later ones, and I didn't play all of the PlayStation ones, but I really enjoyed the first Kingdom Hearts game. And then the second one, I wasn't as big of a fan. But like, even straight away by the time the second game came out, which was another PS2 game, they'd brought out a game in between the two that was only on the Game Boy Advance and had a whole bunch of extra story in it. So then when I started Kingdom Hearts 2, I think it's like right at the beginning, you see a bunch of the Organization 13 people that are all introduced in the other game. So you start Kingdom Hearts 2 and I'm just like, who the hell are all these people? Like
Chain of Memories. Chain of Memories. I was trying to think of the name of the game.
When you switch something over to another format, and then it's like, just you have to go do that if you want to know what's now going on. It's like, okay. Dude, which, I mean, I can see that as being one of the reasons why they then did retell the show, I guess, because it's like if you're only watching it on TV and
it's kind of proving our point now, isn't it? It's kind of proving our point now, isn't it?
Moving completely off topic.
I know, but dude, I will say,
Golden Week.
I know. You know what? The final thing I'll say, you know, it is really funny that you say that about Kingdom Hearts, Ningen, is that obviously like they're notorious for that, right? Like there's so many games in between, you know, like each of the numbered ones, right? But I think the funniest example of that is 365 and a half days, because so that was originally like a DS game, right? Like that's where you learn about Roxas's backstory. And the funny thing about that game is that like obviously they remade a lot of those games later on so that like, you know, it would be a little bit more of like a cohesive, you know, telling of the story, so it wouldn't be as confusing. Now obviously if you're just playing them when they came out, then you just experience that way. But the funny thing is when they redid Days, it wasn't even a game. They just packaged in cutscenes basically. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't mind that. Like, if you're going to put a random thing in between something else, give me some, like, recap cutscenes or something, right? But,
but it's just so funny to me that they took, like, the whole... It's, like, the opposite of what we're saying, almost. It's like they took a whole game where just, like, okay, let's just make it easier. Here's, like, an official version of, like, a YouTube guy telling you the summary of a movie. Like, that's literally what happened. I don't know. It's just so goofy to me, man. But either way, though, I don't know. I think the you know, the whole point is that I do definitely hope that they don't retell the movies when we eventually get, you know, like DBS back, whatever, obviously past Daima. Unless Daima will just continue into the new anime, we'll have to see. But yeah, we'll have to see. That'll be it. By the way, that'll be a fun thing to talk about on the podcast whenever we finally get the first couple episodes of Daima. Talk about the Dokkan units, because I'm sure that there will be some whenever the anime drops. So
yeah, because the thing is, the games, that's an interesting thing as well. Not to like spin off into another different topic for too long, but remember that the games will be synced. And JP has
I didn't even think about that.
Things straight away after the anime, like UI Goku coming out, right? The day after the episode was on in Japan. So if they do that again in the future, it'll be coming out on both versions at the same time because the games are synced.
The only thing is that
awesome.
That'll be cool.
It'll be a little more difficult for them to do that because
it will be weird because then all of the Western audience won't have like necessarily seen it, but
it's not that. It's more that like it takes more time to do animations now. And
true, they are.
You could even tell, like back then when the Int UI Goku came out, he didn't even have a TUR.
Well, but that's also because the animations weren't at the same tier that they are now.
That's what I'm saying. I know. And they didn't even like know, like or it seems like. Because like the Gammas that came out, they only had animations from the trailer, so it almost seems like they don't even know
the free ones. You mean, right?
No, the STR and the AGL one. Like their animations were from the trailer of the movie.
I'd have to double check because I think that there's some things that are in the movie and not, or you know, weren't like in the trailer. So a lot of it is in the trailers, but some of it is like stuff that was in the trailer, but like. Where it cuts in the trailer, the like extended version of that scene that's in the movie, right, is like present in the essay. So I think that's a little bit iffy, but fair enough though. I understand where you're coming from. It's like we don't know if they actually could like, can they literally just go up to like Toei Animation staff and be like, guys, please just give us like 10 minutes of animation that we can just steal some stuff from.
The movies were out at that point, right? But a lot of the stuff was from the trailers. So it feels like they weren't even able to see some of the movie stuff before it came out.
We don't know for sure. I mean, it's also too just because that stuff is also some of their most iconic scenes. As much as I hate to say it, because I love my baby boy Dragon Ball superhero, but they spoiled literally everything in the trailer, bro. Like there was not a single thing that they didn't show in the trailer, bro. At least they waited to spoil you on Gogeta until you got in the theater, bro.
No, dude, that was in the last trailer. Gogeta was in the last trailer.
Yeah, he was.
Oh, was he? Okay,
yeah, he was. That. That's why people got mad.
Yeah, I remember talking about that like in the community at the time because there's this whole thing of JP just like Japan in general do not care as much about spoilers as other,
which is interesting
because like the third trailer for the movie was literally like, yep, here's Gogeta in the trailer.
Here he is. So dude, it's so cool because I remember the stories of like the funny thing was that like people walked into the theater for DBS Broly and then they handed them a postcard with Gogeta's face on it.
I've got them stuck up on the wall. They're two little they're about this big and it's literally full power Broly and blue Gogeta and you got given them when you went into the cinema. So if you'd managed to get that far, imagine being somebody who you walk in the doors of the cinema and you're like, right, I've made it all the way here and I didn't see any spoilers. My phone's already away and turned off. So I'm going into this movie completely unspoiled. And you go up to get your popcorn and the guy's like, here's your Broly and Gogeta postcards. You're like, what?
Jump over the counter and tackle the popcorn boy. Poor guy.
Oh, man. Like, this is the third time today.
That's funny. But anyway, back to the topic at hand.
We're just off topic, but good discussion.
Yes, sir.
It's always fun. You never know what you're gonna get on the Slot One Super Podcast.
Yeah, for sure. But let us know what you guys would like to see for a Golden Week, right? But for now, we'll move on to our final little topic here, and that is going to be everyone's favorite segment, the Trash Takes segment here. So this week it was my responsibility as the host to go ahead and find the trash take, and I did like this one. I think it's an interesting.
I actually don't know which one you picked. Okay.
A lot of people would. It's interesting. Maybe you could read it and be like, "Well, that's
don't look at it, Theo. Be surprised."
At a forefront,
okay.
We'll have some extra context as well. So I'll have Ningen go ahead and put up the post specifically, and whenever it's up, we can go ahead and talk about it.
Hopefully my internet cooperates so I can actually see it.
Yeah, so essentially,
there we go. Okay.
The trash take today is that losing all your HP being the really only lost condition, right? In terms of you losing, is really bad for the game. It makes defense and to a lesser extent debuffing the only factor that's absolutely necessary. Dokkan should experiment more with different lose conditions in relevant events. So before we continue, there are some extra details here provided to us. And he says, in all the difficult content, again, the only way for you to lose is your HP reaching 0. This makes offensive stance and abilities a convenience rather than a necessity. Dokkan should therefore add events where the main concern isn't dying and instead some other factor. One that's already in the game is a countdown feature where you have to beat a stage in under a certain amount of turns. Say the original Super Saiyan 3 Goku Dokkan event, you had 30 charges, I believe, to beat the event. And if he didn't even one-shot you, the event just ended and you lose, right?
Yeah.
Imagine how different your team would have to be if you have to kill a boss that doesn't really do damage but has 100 million HP in under 3 turns. Or imagine an event where you have to avoid collecting physical key spheres or you lose. There's been some events with mechanics that you're talking about, like the punching bag event, but most of those have been abandoned. And then thank y'all and have a wicked good podcast. So that is the whole context about that.
Dude, this is really interesting. Okay.
So, I think this is good because I for one play a game. A lot of us, I think recently even in the Dokkan community, I'm getting everyone on this game as much as I can. Honkai Star Rail is a game like that where the difficult content is turn restricted, and to do a lot of these missions and stuff like that, you are restricted to having to beat the event in a certain amount of turns. So a lot of the content ends up making you want to use a very offensive heavy kind of builds even, and get a lot of attack values in characters and stuff like that, right? And I feel like the game is much more offensively based because you want to clear these events in a certain amount of turns, right? compared to Dokkan, where you could realistically take, aside from certain missions, as long as you want. And it makes defense super important because at the end of the day, the only way you could lose is by losing HP. But if there's an event where it's like, oh, if you grab this amount of key spheres that are physical, you could lose. Or if you don't beat the Smith in the certain amount of turns, you could lose, or something like that, right? Some stipulations that can make the game more interesting, where instead of you specifically only losing HP, even, you could also lose by this X factor. And it could make things a lot more, again, different. And it could also help in terms of power creep, right? In terms of, okay, I don't lose, or I don't even have like let's say
sorry, I don't lose, I'd win.
I'd win. Like, let's say there's not even an HP bar in a game mode, and you just have the characters, but you need to beat it in a certain amount of time frame. So like it can make nuking leaders super important in that specific game mode, or it can make these really old characters, like these out-aged EZA characters. They can make a cap of win condition where those characters are more relevant in the game mode compared to some other brand new characters, right? I think there could be a lot of ways to kind of work around it and make the game more interesting and turn out to be less power creep than just making these bosses hit harder and harder and harder, increasing the attack values of these bosses and HP values, giving us other ways to win the event. Could allow us to get situations where there's not mass power creep like during the 7th anniversary or the 9th anniversary, right? But that's just my take on it. I like this, but let me know what y'all think.
Ningen, do you want to go? I have my thoughts pretty much collected. What do you think? Is he dead? Am I dead?
I hear you. But...
I was muted so I could type in chat. I didn't know it was going to come straight to me. When you started talking, I was like, yes,
I got it then. I got it. You're good. You're good. Okay. So I think like this is a W take, right? I would say that pretty easily, right? Because it's just adding more interesting features to the game, right? Overall. I think the only thing with this one is that this is one of those things where it's like, you know how literally for the Golden Week stuff, we were just talking about like, what's your like, anything is on the table. And then you're like, realistic, what could it be type of thing. I feel like, unfortunately, knowing Bandai and how they work and, how they like to do things, I feel like it is a bit of a unrealistic expectation potentially to like maybe think that they would add something like this. Maybe not unrealistic is the right word, but maybe more like unlikely. Because it just kind of doesn't seem like something that they would do. Somebody in the chat mentioned like the fact that they already have, like beat the stage with no items and like beat the stage in 5 turns, but it's like relegated to missions, right? So it kind of seems like that they put that stuff there rather than actually like, implementing that is it like a technical like actual win condition, right? With that being said, though, as much as I think that Bandai might not go for this idea, I think it's a fantastic idea. I think that it would be really cool to see how they would implement this. I'm not really sure, honestly. Like, I can't really think of anything, obviously, besides what was mentioned off the top of my head that would necessarily be like a different lose condition for this sort of thing. Maybe, I don't know. They could even do some like crazy shenanigans if they really wanted to, because this is an idea that you could really just like go all out for, right? They could even do like you can only deal damage with active skills or something like that, right? Like, I don't know how that would work necessarily from the standpoint of gacha game. You need units that have an active skill, and you would have to have free-to-play characters that would deal enough damage to be able to beat the event type of thing. Like, with gacha law logistic type of thing. But, like, they could definitely do something like that, right? I think it'd be cool if they had, like, something where, like, you could only win with normal attacks. and then like if you use a super, it like takes your own HP or something, and then like maybe like on the map or there's an item you can use to like lower your ki. I don't know, something like that could be really interesting. I'm just spitballing ideas. But yeah, I do think that it's an interesting idea for sure. I would definitely like for them to implement something like this. It just kind of feels like one of those things that I'm like, yeah, this is Bandai, bro. They don't like fun. I don't know. It just kind of feels like one of those things to me where it's like, if the world was my oyster, then yes. But I think in terms of like realism, you kind of have to temper your expectations. But I think it's a good idea. I'd say it's W take. So yeah, that's me. Ningen, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, right? I think it's a good idea. Whether or not it would happen is, I guess separate to the take itself, because yeah, it would be cool to see. Obviously the things like a countdown, I mean, like countdown super is kind of essentially the same thing, right? Because it's just the super hits you for all of your HP. But things like you were saying, the event where it just ends, I guess a lot of the ideas that I was thinking are actually just different win conditions, which is not the same as what this thing is saying, right? Like
those conditions,
like you were saying about like only being able to do damage with active skills. Like in terms of that's a different like win condition. Because
yeah, that's true.
Because I was thinking the same kind of thing, right? Like imagine if you have to do like a certain number of crits to like break layers of a barrier around a boss or something like that. But again, that would be like a win condition, but the lose condition is still that you just get killed, right? You lose all your HP.
Right.
Trying to think of something interesting for that. It would be kind of cool to see. I guess the only other real one is like a turn restriction kind of thing, which would be interesting.
It could be a thing where it's like you need to use one active skill in the final phase, or like you don't win. Like
I mean, they kind of, what's funny that you say that is we kind of have that with certain events, but it's just like obviously that's not like that's not like
missions. I guess like it would like
brought up but I mean like sometimes that's just how you win an event, and that's how you need to win an event just because of how the event is structured. But the only thing I could think of is like I mentioned that idea about like if you do a super attack, it does damage to yourself. But at the end of the day, I suppose that's also still just technically draining your HP, just in a different way, right? So, like, it's still a more unique way to drain your HP, I suppose. But obviously, it's still just HP loss at the end of the day. So,
yeah. But something like, I guess something that would be kind of interesting would be like a turn countdown thing. I mean, again, like in terms of an actual just black and white, like what is the different lose condition, it's still stemming from the same thing, which is like you run out of turns and then the event ends. But something that would be kind of cool to then work off of that format and to think about different ways they could do that would be things like getting crits, or like each attack that hits a certain damage threshold, or each turn that hits a certain damage threshold could add extra turns to the countdown that you have and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of interesting things they could do, but the lose condition itself would still just be you run out of turns and then you lose. Or even like, I don't know how that would work, because Dokkan is not a game that functions once you have less than like 3 characters on rotation. But imagine if you had like every couple of turns, the boss does an ability that essentially just removes one of your characters from your team. And if you get down to having less than 3 characters, then you don't have a workable rotation. So the event just ends and you lose. Be kind of interesting, because it's stuff like that would be kind of cool. Like, again, it's interesting to speculate that, an idea for a different lose condition could be really interesting. But they'd have to put quite a lot of thought and into how it works and like the execution of it and everything, right?
You know what'd be cool? It could be a thing where it's like you like kind of like even Battlefield. Well, that's how Battlefield works, where you lose if you run out of a certain pool of characters. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, but you still lose HP though.
I'm talking about like you have
the event in total, because if you run out,
I know what you mean.
But each stage you're still losing by losing your HP.
Like you run through a gauntlet of bosses like Battlefield, but then instead of you could lose by losing HP, but if you also run out of characters to beat the boss, then you also lose.
Yeah, that just sounds like a whale mode at that point. you know?
Well, I mean, I guess, but
See,
it could be capped out like at 30 characters, so it's like
what I
mean,
think could
at
be
the end of the day,
true.
the game is kind of whale mode in a sense where
That's
the more
true.
characters you have a higher percentage, the better.
I mean, that is just gacha games in general. I guess.
Gacha games, right?
You know,
Yeah.
I think a film, something could remedy that like idea specifically would be if like they made a game mode where the characters had their own HP bars and you could lose a specific character on a team if they got hit, and then you could still use the units that were alive, but then the one character that got, you know, bonked, then obviously you wouldn't be able to you know, like obviously use that character again. They would be like out of your pool. That could be interesting. I do think though that like funny enough well, go ahead.
No, you can go on next.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think I was going to mention this, and funny enough, somebody kind of mentioned it in the chat, right? I think it's just a problem when it comes to something like this with the fundamentals of how the game works, right? The game is built upon you having this HP bar, right? That is basically your life, right? That is the accumulation of all your units. And then the enemy has the HP bar. That, you know, basically it's whoever loses their HP first is the winner, right? Like that's like bare bones, the basic explanation of how the game works. And so I think it's more so a problem of like, it's not that the game's fundamental structure is bad. I think it's just that with the way that the game is structured in that way, it's hard to implement ideas like this without changing like the fundamental basics of how the game works.
Yeah.
Good.
You know, which would basically make it into another game.
10th
I would love that. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm not saying that I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying that, you know, I think that
I just think
the context of what we have now,
it'd be a way to slow down power creep. Right, these characters are getting so much more complex and updated because really it's them keeping up with these new boss stats, right? But if there's another way to lose without essentially being, oh, this boss hit me too hard, I died. If there's like other loss conditions, like literally you don't lose from your HP, but let's say you don't even have an HP bar in this mode, and in this specific like events, you instead need to clear the event within 5 turns, or you need to collect a certain amount of key spheres to beat the event as well. And that situation, it's like you could use different characters that are even super old, and you can get values out of those other characters. And that'll also slow down power creep because it's not a thing of, oh, this boss one-shots me, I need the new beast Gohan. I could bring a 5-year-old orb changer, and that 5-year-old orb changer could help me beat this event specifically, right? I think that could help slow down power creep in this situation like that.
There's a problem with how that works. And ironically enough, the first thing that came to my mind is actually One Piece Treasure Cruise, because they have, I think it's called Kizuna mode. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's like it's also like their PvP mode. I know for a fact that because it is Bandai and they love money and they are a gacha game, what would end up happening is that they would make units that were tailored for those Kizuna Clash. Thank you. That would be tailored for those specific modes. Now, I know we technically have that in Dokkan, right? Where it's like, you know, oh, this character works better on this event, right? But I'm talking about like, they literally like, okay, that's Pirate Rumble. That's right. I'm confusing the game modes. Thank you. Regardless, though, the way that the units work is that like some of these units are just straight up unusable in regular content and only work for that specific game mode. That's where they're good and where they thrive.
I mean, there's already characters that are unusable in Gogeta Blue's fight, but is super good in Super Battle Road. Like that's already in the game. And
I think though the difference between that is that they're old.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They literally said they want to bring new events and stuff where these old characters that have EZA and cannot super EZA are still going to be viable. They
that's
what they said. So
I'm saying
like that.
I'm saying brand new characters that basically like, because the thing is, right? When you're talking about this sort of thing where it's like, you know, only certain characters are usable on like these new events, right? Or like the Gogeta fight we'll use for an example, right? Obviously you can use, right, the new characters and beat that, and a lot of the characters in the game are unusable in that way. But obviously you can still use all of those new characters that you just used on that fight on SBR, obviously assuming that they fit the category, right? You can still use them on there and still win just fine, whereas the characters who are outdated and don't work on the Gogeta mode are only good on SBR because they're old and the mode is old, right? And some of them were obviously designed to be more tailored towards it. I think the thing that I'm trying to say is a brand new character would come out that would be like, you know, whatever this new game mode, you know, type of thing would be. It would be like specifically for that, and the old units still wouldn't be good on that. I don't know.
Well,
I think it's.
I don't see that. It really depends on how they design it.
Yeah,
but it's like if you say it's like, oh, they bring out new super extreme Z battle, or not super extreme Z battle, ultra super battle road or something.
Ultra super.
And
yeah, I don't know.
With that, it's like they start designing new characters for that new game mode, because that's what they always do. The 9th anniversary, these new characters are designed for that new game mode, and some of these long-term characters are not going to be good in short-term content, or some of those short-term content characters are no longer as good for this 9th anniversary content. That's just how the game has always worked. I
think the difference would be like, I agree. I think the big like point of contention would be how they design it, because it would depend on if they made it like, if it was just based off of their normal passive skills, or like kind of think of it at, now obviously this game mode is like,
I mean, they would still have passive skills like the same as like other characters, but they would also have an extra niche, because at this point passive skills are super expansive.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like the type of thing where like a good example of this, even though the game mode is hot dookie, is like Tournament of Power in Legends, right? Where like with Legends, that's a whole
other like kit, right?
Right, exactly. The unit has like another kit, right? What I'm saying is if they implemented some kind of game mode that was like a completely different thing, that like, you know, was basically not using the like fundamental mechanics of the game.
I think that's the difference where there's a disconnect. I'm saying like there's win conditions like collect 30 physical key spheres and then defeat the enemy.
Gotcha.
Right? Where it's like HP doesn't even matter. You have to just collect the 30 physical key spheres and you defeat the enemy. Or maybe you could still get one shot, but you need to meet those win conditions, which would cause you to bring different units, I think is the idea.
Yeah.
HP being the only lose condition, maybe not as great. But maybe you have to also collect orbs. Kind of like what they have for the intensifying fights. Where, like, let's say wasn't it the 13 fight? You had to collect like a bunch of ink key spheres with the true fight at the end.
That was a cool fight.
Like that.
I like that one a lot.
And then it's like,
that is interesting.
I could bring different characters, or if there's like no HP, then it's like, oh, you know, in that situation, I can bring this super old character because HP doesn't matter, and I won't die to them, but this character will help me win that win condition, and I could use this 5-year-old blue Vegeta that creates physical key spheres for me, right? With no matter
that bum.
Right? I think something like that, where it's like you could still use the brand new characters, but you also have the option to use these old characters.
Yeah,
would be a way to even make the game more usable for those old characters like they want to. But that's my idea. If it's an idea where it's like, oh, we create brand new separate kits for a brand new game mode, and you can't even that new kit doesn't even matter for the rest of the game, is what I would not like you're saying.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
Like Legends Around the Power, I would not like that, right? But my idea is
very stinky.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. I think that like for how the game works, right, it's important to basically just keep it to like the passive skills functioning the same in every mode, but obviously it's how they affect the mode basically, right? Rather than like making a completely different thing like that, because I know that like basically I mean, I don't know how you would like this realistically, but every single person that I've ever talked to that plays a gacha game where they have something like that, where they have like a separate kit for a character for a separate game mode, right, does not like it, and it's just scummy business practice, right? Because obviously then they can get you to summon for more units if you enjoy the other game mode, and then obviously you want to be like high, especially if it's a thing that's like ranked, and you like need the new characters to get high in the rankings. Then obviously you're really getting into some dangerous territory when it comes to gacha game business practices. But yeah. I think overall, though, right, the take is very, very interesting. I would definitely like to see something like this added. By the way, Twitchy Games just said in the chat, I'll add to this take. I would like there to be a way to get boosts, mod battle for fulfilling certain conditions. For instance, if you collect 10 key spheres, your team gets 5% crit. That would be cool.
What if it's like a thing where you want to collect a certain amount of physical key spheres, but then with each physical key sphere, your team gets reduction, like damage reduction, like 1% or something, right? And then at the end you fight like a really tough boss, but then like, oh, these older units get.
Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, that's just like reverse burst mode. It's like instead of nerfing yourself and you just check off the boxes, you have to meet conditions to then buff yourself. But I guess that's also just,
I mean the thing is
how they handle it.
That would technically still just be a lose condition where you lose all your HP, but it would be kind of cool. What I was going to say anyway, like it would be cool if there was a thing where like you have a certain number of turns until the enemy does like a countdown super that does an insane amount of damage, but by meeting conditions throughout the fight, you give your team like certain layers of damage reduction, so you have to get up to like a certain amount of those buffs so that the attack doesn't kill you, and then once that attack goes off, as long as you survive, then the event ends there and you win, and if you die, then you lose. Could be cool. But I mean that is still technically you losing by losing your HP, but
but it's like back to square one.
Win condition rather than lose condition, but it depends, right? I mean, I guess it's a winning condition, but if you don't win, you lose. So it's technically also a lose condition.
Well, yeah, true.
So you know what? Whatever.
No, you're right. You're right.
Good discussion off this one, though. To be honest,
we did. See, I don't know, man. I like takes like these. Like, obviously, I enjoy the takes that are like, they understood the assignment type beat. But like, I don't know. I kind of think it's interesting when we get stuff like this that's almost more of like an idea or like a point of discussion rather than like, oh my gosh, this is an idea that's bad on purpose, type of thing.
It's always good to have a mixed bag. That's why it's good to have these different ones each week, right? Whereas, like you said, some are the good meme, like they understood the assignment. It is absolutely a trash take. But then there's stuff like this, which is very, very interesting and obviously sparks a whole bunch of different ideas and things you can have, which it's nice to have the collection of both throughout the various different trash take segments. But
who would think this is bad, though? I want to meet someone who thinks that this is a bad
thing. This would just be a good way for them to experiment, and if it doesn't work, just drop it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to it's the execution, right? Because like you said, even with other games when they've introduced different modes and stuff, is Dokkan could say, right, well, we're going to introduce a new mode that has a completely different type of like win or lose condition, but then the mode just sucks. And then obviously, they definitely happy with that, right? So
they did drop.
That is chain battle, exactly.
At the end of the day, I think it is so good where if they try something out and then from their end they see it's not worth it or not working.
That's true.
And the game goes back to normal. Like,
is this not just chain battle? What this take is asking for?
I mean,
there's no HP lose condition in chain battle. You have to pick your units to link together before the timer runs out, and then you do damage.
Stuff like that, just new game.
Well, then this is an out. No, I'm just kidding.
Stay away, chain battle.
Let's do it. What was the percentage between W and L?
Nah, this is definitely.
So we'll end the poll there. Obviously, YouTube does its weird rounding up thing, so it doesn't actually add up to 100%. But W take is 69%, L is 30%. So still pretty heavily weighted towards W. So.
That's good.
Yeah, W.
I'm surprised there are that many L's. Who are you in the chat? Why is this an L take? I want to know, bro.
I don't know, but
speak up.
There is the trash take segment here again. Very fun. I think getting a lot of freeform discussion here is really, really nice to see. But from here, we do have some donations and things like that with questions. So again, Ningen, I know you do have them up, so feel free to go ahead and give them a read.
Yep, so shout out to everybody who contributed during the episode. I appreciate you guys helping to support the podcast. I've got a couple here for today. So the first one, shout out to Philip Rodriguez for the $2 super chat. He just says #Heroes Agenda. So of course we're always supporting the Heroes Agenda over here. We're not quite far enough through the year that we can start talking about it incessantly just yet, but you know, we'll get there soon enough. We always start a little bit earlier than everybody else because you know we gotta get those heroes mentions in there somewhere. I mean, we did mention Dark King Fu earlier for the Extreme STR unit. So,
yes. Oh, hold on. Super Saiyan God Goku. All right.
Yeah, true. Shout out to Annie. Yeah, there you go. We almost went a whole episode without mentioning God Goku. That is true.
I had to save it, bro. I had to save
Crazy.
it. I just had to do it.
Right, so then Philip Rodriguez with another super chat says, what is your most anticipated 200% lead and who do you want to lead it? So I'm assuming, well, by just saying straight up 200% lead, we're going to assume like Carnival LR, right? So a specific category getting a 200% leader skill. What is your most anticipated category and who do you want to lead it? I mean, I feel like we could easily get it out of the way before either of us actually says it. It's obviously finally getting a Heroes LR and getting a 200% Heroes lead. Other than that,
you know what? It's so funny that you say that. You know what? I was gonna say we have like a similar mind. I was gonna say Super Saiyan 3. We literally both knocked our two favorite ones right off from the top.
Well, I was gonna be different and say Dragon Ball Saga, and with the
that is a good idea though.
Demon King Piccolo Carnival LR as a part 2 to a Dokkan Fest LR Kid Goku. Right, and then Demon King Piccolo Carnival 200% DB Saga would be sick.
All right, so I have to ask, since Minato said his character, I didn't even say my Super Saiyan 3 character. Give me a second to think about it. And again, who would be the 200% leader then? Because we already have Limit Breaker Vegito, so I guess he can't be it.
Yeah, right? I mean, I feel like, again, if we're just picking anyone and not like basic, because I know they do release characters in a specific order for a reason based on the arcs from the anime and the card releases and all that stuff. But if we were just going to pick anyone, I feel like the two best options, well, I feel like the number one option, just because it fits in, it's like a timeless choice because it's not from a specific arc, even though it is from a certain arc in the anime itself. But having the double Goku, so having like Blue Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? Like the Capsule Goku and then the GT,
that's
like the
a good
Time
idea.
Traveler Goku, as an LR for 200%. Or the other one, which is a more specific thing, just because everybody was super hyped when it happened in the show, because it wasn't that long ago, would be the generational Kamehameha thing, right? Where it's Super Saiyan 4 Bardock, UI Goku, and Super Saiyan 2 Future Gohan.
Yeah, that was sick.
Oh, that'd be insane as the Heroes 200% LR.
That would be dope.
Yeah, that'd be super good.
That'd be sick.
I mean, I said about Heroes because I know it's one of the things that you and I would have potentially gone straight to, but Super Saiyan 3 definitely is up there as a top pick for me as well. I do love Super Saiyan 3. You know who would make a great leader for it as well? Like, fix the issues of the past and give us a new Super Saiyan 3 Broly, but he's actually good.
That's not a bad idea. Low key.
Cool.
That'd be cool.
Carnival
I was
LR.
thinking like that would be cool. Dude, that'd be could you imagine the super? Oh my gosh.
I guess technically he would be on Movie Bosses because it was in a cinema kind of. But give me a Movie Bosses 200% Carnival LR leader, and it's God Broly from the
God Broly, dude. That could be crossover,
Yep, from the 4D movie thing. Because his design's super cool, but he's not in anything except for like Heroes. I think he's got there's like one event they brought out for the arcade machine. So it's like one specific event that he has, and that's it. Like,
dude, they could do the like Goku fusing with the audience as like a free to play card for that too. That'd be sick.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah. I think for Super Saiyan 3, well, for my pick, by the way, for Heroes, I still like so desperately want that LR Time Patrollers to be a thing with like all the gang, because I think that'd be so cool. But for Super Saiyan 3, I mean, like the obvious choice, I guess, is like when Goku first transforms into Super Saiyan 3, where we get like a proper like, you know, like active skill of Goku screaming. But besides like the easy one, to, you know, go back, give my boy some love, and considering that if you do some mental gymnastics, he is the godfather of Super Saiyan 3s, right? Just a Bardock, bro. Like it's
this guy.
It's his most like besides 4, right? Obviously, it's his most iconic form, right? And not to mention, if you are like going by the canon of the non-canon, right? Obviously, since he was the first Super Saiyan and he, advanced in power before Goku was even like a child, I guess he would be the first Super Saiyan 3. I don't know if that's technically how that works, but like,
Yeah, we talked about that weird time paradox with the movie last time, didn't we? Which was funny.
The
Super Saiyan, him going Super Saiyan 2 and 3 is obviously part of like the Xenoverse thing. But
that's Xenoverse.
You know the unit that I've talked about for years that I want is give us a base Bardock that puts on the broken Timebreaker mask and becomes Super Saiyan 3 Marseillan from that old cutscene from Heroes. That was so good.
That'd be cool.
They need to the fact that they did that Marseillan unit so long ago, and like we still have all those Xenoverse characters that don't have EZAs. Like, where's my give me a new Marseillan, and he goes Super Saiyan 3. I need it.
Yeah. I don't know why, honestly. Like, see, I will say to finish our Heroes conversation here, they are eventually gonna have to like either loop back to the beginning or just start doing random stuff, because they still do have a couple of anime arcs to go through, right? Because obviously even after like the last thing that we got, which would have been like the universe tree arc, there's obviously like the whole thing with Eros, right, and Demigra, and that whole arc that they still have to go through, right? And now we have the arc with I don't know, I forget the name of him, but it's the guy that absorbs everybody.
Ozoto guy, or whatever it is.
Ozoto, yeah, I could not remember his name for the life of me. Thank you.
Terrible CG anime.
We ain't even gonna talk about all that. Besides that, right? the thing is that I would think that with like at the pace that the promotional anime is going, Dokkan would, like, weirdly enough, I would think catch up in terms of the hero's art. Maybe not like as quick as I think, but I would think at some point eventually that may happen.
Yeah.
And if that did happen, then they would have to either just like go back to the beginning, or then it's just like do like theme celebrations, or maybe just like do random characters, whatever it would be,
like,
right? However they would remedy it.
Saiyan Saga celebration with UI Goku.
Right, like they would have to do some shenanigans like that.
Like there's older characters from before there was even the proper promotional anime episodes, where they just did those promotional trailers. Like we talked about them a couple of episodes ago too, I think. But like the fact that we've never gotten Super Saiyan 3 Vegito or Gogeta as heroes cards, and those promotional trailers were from years ago. Someone mentioned in their chat as well, Cell X. Like there's a load of that stuff.
Dude,
super old that they've never done. So
I would go nuts for Cell X. I am Cell X's #1 supporter, bro. I have never met another person on this planet
I've seen
Earth.
so many people hate that like design.
They hate him, but I love it. I love it so much because it plays off of the idea that Cell is this giant, disgusting bug monster, and it's basically like, what if Cell was taken too far is essentially what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think that idea from like a concept standpoint is super cool. So, Roach Cell, Papa Roach Cell, exactly. Yeah, like, basically just, I don't know. I think it's super cool. I know that people probably would not care. I would rainbow him on a heartbeat though. But yeah, even like somebody mentioned in the chat, right? Like the Grand Priest outfit Goku, right? That is still, granted, he has like assets in the game for the story event, but that doesn't have a card, and that's already happened in where now Heroes is in, right, in Dokkan at this point. So there's so many things they could still go back.
Well, they missed out loads of stuff, right? Like they did Hearts, and Cumber, but they didn't do the other core area warriors like the Eye Patch Zamasu, Kami, and Oren,
Yeah.
like all that stuff. So
I need that.
That's true.
But yeah, they
Dude,
got tons
that
of
Zamasu would
hero
be
stuff
so
still
cool.
to do, of course. But yeah,
Yeah,
we can't get
absolutely.
too sidetracked by heroes because this is
Yeah.
a question about 200% categories. So you know,
Thank you
why
for your
not?
Dragon Ball Heroes question.
Exactly. You love to see it. But yeah, shout out to Philip Rodriguez for that one. And last but not least, we have Weeb of Class with the $10 super chat. So this one's an interesting one. Which Super Saiyan 3 Goku do you want to see this year with an intro, or Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku? If you had to choose between the Buu fight or the Janemba fight, if you were going to get a new Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. So
Easy, Janemba. No questions asked, bro. I know that's a hot take because obviously the Super Saiyan 3 scene is so iconic, and don't get me wrong, I love it too. But like, that is my favorite Super Saiyan 3 thing ever. I love the Gogeta movie a lot, you know, Fusion Reborn, but I love it most of all because of that fight. And we high-key got shafted out of some of those scenes because they gave those to the Gogeta boys, which I do love that unit still. But easily them in a heartbeat, bro. I would like... bro, this sounds so like ransom to say being a Super Saiyan 3 fan, but I would like pound the Buu scene into the dirt to get an L-arm Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah, dude, was it the L? Now, the funny thing is, I agree with you. Like, I'd pick that one over the other one just because the
let's go. I mean,
the tech.
I get it.
Angel Goku, and then they gave it to the physical Super Saiyan 3 one when they awakened him. He has that thing, the like diving twin dragon fist thing. But like, imagine that now in like the quality. Like, imagine that, but done by the guy that did like Broly's animation or something. Like that would be so good. But
I don't care.
That would
I
be
don't.
cool.
What about let's do both? The intro should be.
Well, I'm gonna say I want both, but I'm just answering the question if I.
I
don't know if he meant specifically Kid Buu or Fat Buu though as well. So, or actually no, because Kid Buu is not. Because Kid Buu is not Angel Goku anymore, is he?
No.
I
need the Super Saiyan. I need the Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Like more, I would like take the movie one and crush him and throw him away, compared to the Buu Saga one. Because I need him powering up as an intro and screaming and just going crazy and shaking the planet.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite moves is when he holds Boo and then he punches him like a punching bag.
Yeah.
Like there's so many cool things that he does there. And it's like, sure, the like twin dragon thing with the ki blast are kind of cool. Like it is cool, but I would much rather have that intro animation.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, bro, the animation in the movie's so cool, and he does like that side slide thing, right, where like his hair is flowing out to the side. It's just it's peak.
I just need that. I just need that intro. That intro is what sells it for me. I'm sorry.
That would be cool.
Just put the two together, like you say. Let's give him that intro, but then have the super attack from the Janemba movie.
That'd be crazy.
That's just the Super Saiyan 3 Goku moment when he transforms.
Oh yeah. Well, of course.
That transformation. I think the second Super Saiyan 3 Goku moment for me is, of course, from that movie. But when he's transforming and all the colors are changing, and then there's a Janemba, that is like the second one for me. And then the third one is probably Dragon Fist. But regardless, Super Saiyan 3 is cool. I think we can all agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Weeb of Class for that one. That is the final one for today. So I appreciate you guys for contributing. But yeah, that is the questions and shout outs contributions for this episode. So yeah, appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
There we go, y'all. So that is all the topics we had to cover today. But we'll be back next week. By next week, we should know what the part 2 LR is. Should already actually even be out in game at that point. So we'll see, what exactly is going on there. We could know the theme for the Golden Week celebration. We'll have the updates and whatever new mechanics could be there. Global's World Tournament will be on. There's going to be a new quest mode area. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So stay tuned in for next week, y'all. But that is everything from me, the Masked Ningen, and Dokkan this week. And we'll catch you all in the next one.
There's a bit of a lack of a comment, like pause there. You're like, from me, the Masked Ningen. I was like, wait, hang on. What?
From me, Minato Splash, and the Masked Ningen.
Yeah. All right. Peace out.